government by the people, of the people, for the people. But the people are retarded.
The best way to get something done, if it holds near and dear to you that you like to be able to, anyway, from Charlotte, another line going from in Florida down to Tampa of Putin's kleptocracy. Yeah. America is a nation that can be defined in a single word. I was going to the idea that Los Angeles and what am I doing here? For two reasons. One, I'll lead an effective strategy to mobilize true international effort to pressure. Let's be clear. I hear it all the time. Cumulative effort, I can play for the programs many times over. Well, I'm sick and tired of smart guys. Let me start off with two words. Made in America. Made in America.
Welcome back to another night of Shtick with Koolfrogg. It's a good night. It's a good day. We're going to be here for a few hours. I do have quite a bit to actually go through. Should be a fun night. I would say hi to everybody real quick. What's up? Beautifully inappropriate. How you doing, dear? Keith Gregory, awesome. Vicky T, heck yeah. I'm excited for tonight. Should be a good night. Should be fun. Tweety U.S. News. There she is. What's up? Good to see you. And Boomer. Hey, Boomer. You're not the first one today. It's kind of odd. A little strange. Let's spot the tea first. Get going. What do we say? Ready? Ready for all this? This world is getting dangerous. It's getting very, very disturbing. I was slacking. Yep. Oh, yeah. All day long. That happens. It happens to the best of us. Believe me. China issues rare rebuke to Russia over border incident. The Chinese embassy issued a rare rebuke to Russia over an incident at the border in the two countries. According to the post on the Chinese embassy's Weibo account, a Chinese social media site, Russian border police detained and interrogated for 4 hours a group of Chinese citizens who were traveling through the country on their way to Kazakhstan. The incident seriously damaged the legitimate rights and interests of Chinese citizens, and the embassy pressed Russian authorities to further look into it. They're friends. They're friends with each other. They really are. I'll prove this in a short bit. For them to actually have any kind of tussle with each other at this point in time would be kind of silly of either side to do such a thing. If it was something that would actually snowball to actually make it bigger or worse, it could, and I guess, but I doubt it. I really doubt it. I think this is just something that's a little tiny that's just going to get washed over. Nobody's really going to seriously pay attention to it. I don't see it being a thing, really. The embassy retained a diplomatic tone with the post, however, noting that the incident was inconsistent with the overall situation of friendly Sino-Russian relations and a trend of increasingly close friendly exchanges of personnel between the two countries. The embassy said that it was quick to get into contact with authorities and calm down the emotions of the parties involved. Soon after which the situation was cleared up, it made its complaints heard, and representatives from the Russian Ministry of Foreign Affairs, the Federal Border Service, and the Federal Security Service Uh, the FBS and the FSS, and they put FSB. All right. It sounds fun. I don't think they know what their acronyms really are supposed to be, but oh well. The successor of the Soviet KGB. The post also included an explanation of the Russian side, which stressed that the encounter was only a single incident and promised that the country does not discriminate against Chinese citizens. The reason for the mix up was the actual destination did not match that on the Chinese citizens' visas, in violation of Russian law. Nevertheless, the embassy asked Russian authorities to look further into what caused the violation. The incident was one of the first major public rifts in the Sino Russian relations since the latter's invasion of Ukraine, which China has refused to condemn. Of course, they refuse to condemn it. They're helping them. They're actually giving them oils and other goods. We just watched and heard of a train that just made it to Russia for the first time from China. For us to actually think that they wouldn't actually be part of something together would be kind of silly. Russia has become increasingly reliant on Asian power since Western sanctions, in response to the war, cut it off from Western trade. Yeah, they're concerned. They're not. Their economy is doing just fine. They don't need Western relations for their economy to flourish. Their economy is flourishing just fine. It's our economy here in the United States that is trash. Bidenomics does not work the way it says it does. As Ricada says, only the bastard late and gay. Of course. Relations between the two allies are at a historical high. Following the low point in minor border war between China and Soviet Union in 1969, despite this, the border incident shows that fractures still exist below the surface. Despite it. Yeah, right. They're just trying to play it off. They put I think this was staged to a point where they're actually just kind of, let's make it look like there's something happening, like there's a little rift in between the two of us, so that way they don't actually catch on to everything else that's exactly happening with their actual alliances that they have with each other. China and Russia send warships near Alaska in unprecedented joint show of force. Again, my whole point, when it comes down to it, gee, I wonder. It's a pissing contest? Yeah. Warships from a joint China-Russia naval operation buzzed the coast of Alaska last week in what is described as the biggest combined Russian-Chinese battle group to ever approach U.S. shores. Senator Dan Sullivan of Alaska said in August 5th statement, last week, August 5th. Yep, last week. Is it last week? Oh, because Sunday's the first day of the week, so, yesterday technically was last week. In a statement that 11 Russian and Chinese warships operating together got close to the coast of Alaska, and what the lawmaker called yet another reminder that we have entered a new era of authoritarian aggression led by dictators of Beijing and Moscow. Mr. Sullivan, who's a member of the Senate Armed Services Committee, told Fox News, on August 5th that the U.S. Navy mobilized 4 destroyers to escort the Chinese and Russian warships away from the U.S. coastal waters. Yeah, that's what it takes. Just four U.S. Navy mobilized destroyers to go ahead and distract the 11 ships that they had in the water. Nothing big. Russia don't trust China? Not so sure about that. What's up, Darth Hideous? How you doing? Good to see you. I'm not so sure, Gohagan. I really seriously would question that. I'd question that a little bit further, and if that's actually the truth or not. The lawmaker noted that last summer, a similar, although smaller scale operation occurred off the coast of Alaska. Given that a response was tepid, I strongly encourage senior military leaders to be ready with a much more robust response. In the event of another similar drill, Mr. Sullivan said in a follow up statement, he also said that he was he was heartened to note that this latest incursion was met by a forceful response that sent a strong message to China and Russia that the United States will not hesitate to protect and defend our vital national interests in Alaska. You know, that big, huge piece of land that Russia sold the United States so that way they could, bolster their economy, way back when. There's just a little something that'll, a little exchange for some monies, nothing big. I think they both know each other well enough that attack the other if they knew they could easily win. Right, which they both know that neither one of them would easily win that war, and that's why they're allied with each other as much as they are. In my beliefs, that's my opinion on it. Obviously, you get to all have your own opinion, and I'm totally fine with that. I'm not going to tell you need to actually change your opinion. I just suggest everybody look into their opinions, like I do, and that's something. Tomorrow night is a great show, members only. Yes, tomorrow night, members only. There'll be two shows because there'll be a regular Shtick with Koolfrogg that will actually happen at 8:30. Tomorrow night, early 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 8 o'clock East, will be myself and Good Logic in that members only chat. It should be a good time. What the heck is this now? They changed their headline. I'll look into that in a moment here. Iran responds to U.S. military moves with more firepower. Tehran has equipped its patrols with drones and longer-range missiles, escalating tensions in the Strait of Hormuz. Iran has beefed up its naval forces, arming them with additional drones and precision missiles with ranges up to 1,000 kilometers amid rising tensions with the U.S. over shipping traffic through the world oil markets, most crucial bottleneck. So the United States just deployed more destroyers of our own, a couple more destroyers into that area to actually help ease the tensions so that oil tankers would feel safe actually moving themselves through the Strait of Hormuz again, because there have been several attacks on those tankers. So, we moved some stuff in, then us and Iran said, okay, we'll move some more stuff in to actually, bolster our side because we're afraid that you brought your stuff in. So, it's really seriously kind of ridiculous to actually think about. The Iran Revolutionary Guard Corps Navy officially took possession of a new gear at the ceremony on Saturday. State-run media outlets reported the systems included reconnaissance of the battle drones, as well as electronic warfare equipment, truck-mounted missile launchers, and hundreds of cruise and ballistic missiles. The announcement came after reports earlier this week that U.S. military officials had drawn up unprecedented plans to place armed troops on commercial trips in the Strait of Hormuz. Last month, the Pentagon announced its deployment of additional fighter jets and naval assets into the Persian Gulf region in response to alarming events such as Iranian seizures of commercial vessels, like I just stated. That's exactly what they had done. So, it's kind of interesting to actually think about when it all comes down to it really everybody's got something to do with somebody else, and they all want to actually deploy military in and around regions and areas to actually go ahead and do just that. Show that they're the ones that have the upper hand. This is going to get dangerous. It's going to get very dangerous, and it's going to be very horrible for everybody involved. Every single person. About 20% of the world's oil supplies, or one third of all seaborne crude shipments, go through the Strait of Hormuz. The narrow passage connects the Persian Gulf to the Gulf of Aman and the Arabian Sea. Tehran's typically accuses the operators of detained ships of shipping violations, such as oil smuggling. Some of the vessels have only been released after the country's freed detained Iranian tankers. The new missiles give the IRGC Navy better accuracy and longer range that has previously had available. Commander Alazaria Tingsuri said the cruise missiles can attack several targets simultaneously, and the commands can be altered after takeoff. U.S.-Iran tensions have risen since Washington pulled out of the Iran nuclear deal in 2018. Yep, okay, let's go all the way back to 2018. Let's look at the JCPOA, and let's not worry about what Joe Biden's been doing, but let's again point fingers at the predecessor, because that's the easy thing to do. Why? Because why not just be ignorant to the point and do just that? Point fingers at the predecessor and say, oh, it was him. It was him that did that. Yep. Nope. Has nothing to do with what's currently going on with this ignorant asshole named Joe Biden. But whatever. Let's do that. Let's point fingers at everybody else. So then I'm gonna actually look at this next. I'm gonna look at the headline that was actually just updated with the multiple Syrian soldiers. See what that is, being that we're kind of in that same region. It says multiple Syrian soldiers killed in an Israeli airstrike, and Damascus state media. At least 4 servicemen were killed and 4 others injured in new attack in Damascus suburbs. Syrian air defenses have been activated to intercept a volley of hostile projectiles in the vicinity of the country's capital, Damascus. The Syrian Arab news agency reported early Monday morning multiple explosions were heard in Damascus shortly after 2:20 a.m. as at least one bright flash illuminated the skies, according to the unverified video making rounds online. The Israelis' enemy carried out an air attack from the direction of occupied Golan Heights, targeting some points of vicinity in the city of Damascus. Syrian air defenses allegedly brought down most of the projectiles, but the attack still led to the death of 4 soldiers and wounding 4 others. Limited material losses. Syria's capital, as well as other locations across the country, routinely come around mysteriously missile strikes, and most recent in Damascus was in mid-July. Okay, so they're going to throw a little bit of history at us and what actually has previously happened as well. They claim to be hitting Iranian Hezbollah targets and preemptive self-defense operations against Tehran's growing influence in Syria. Damascus has repeatedly protested the raids as violation of Syrian sovereignty and international laws, to little effect. Kind of interesting, I guess, is maybe not something that I would have actually necessarily put into this newsreel, but because it was a main headline, it was like, oh, what is this? We'll throw that in there right away, just to not pass it by. The whole deal between Israel and Syria and all that really seriously has gone on way too long. Something that we need to stop funding and actually just allow them to take each other out, destroy themselves if either one of them goes away. I don't think it's a big loss. I really don't. I don't see it as being like this, oh my God, we need to protect one side or the other. Let them fight their own civil war. Let them take care of themselves. I could be wrong, but again, my opinion. No personal responsibility. Ukraine strikes bridges in Crimea with NATO supplied missiles. 2 bridges connecting the peninsula of Russia's mainland were hit by Storm Shadow missiles, according to local authorities. Some 12 missiles were fired during Saturday's attack, with at least 3 making it through Russian anti-aircraft defenses. Saldo told Russia 24 TV channel the strike damaged 2 bridges across the Strait of Chongar and in the Tunky Strait. Official stated. So if when you actually look at map of the area, there's a series of bridges that actually reach from the north side of Crimea that actually make itself up in around that area. It's not necessarily the same bridge that they hit last time. This is a separate bridge. The Chongar Bridge sustained at least 1 hit, according to acting governor, who shared imagery of the aftermath in the attack at Telegram channel. The missile left a large hole in the bridge deck paving. The attack damaged a rural school and ruptured a local gas pipeline, leaving a nearby town of Genchesk without supply. According to Saldo, both bridges have hardly been used for military needs and are purely civilian infrastructure. Purely civilian infrastructure, but when it comes down to it, like, they wouldn't use it for military if need be. What's up, TR? Good to see you, brother. While Saldo did not elaborate on the damage sustained in the second bridge, unverified footage circulating online suggests one of the sections is partially collapsed. The image shows a gas pipeline running alongside the bridge, ruptured and aflame. The bridges linking the northern part of Crimean Peninsula with Kherson region were targeted by Ukraine in another major attack back in June. At that time, the Chongar Bridge sustained considerable damage and ended up shut down for several weeks during repairs. Several weeks? Technically, those bridges shouldn't have actually been completely repaired yet. One of them shouldn't have actually been repaired all the way into the month of September. What is up, Bernie Mac? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Poland shuts down sections of Russian oil pipeline. Okay. 1 or 2 strings of Russian oil pipeline passing through Poland to Germany has been closed off following a leak. The Polish operator Pern said on Saturday. Pern's automation system detected a leak on Saturday evening, leading to the section being immediately turned off. The company added that the emergency teams, along with the Polish fire service, were working to secure the infrastructure. In the moment, the company is investigating the causes of the incident in constant contact. So when you actually look at this particular, you could blame it on somebody. We can say it's one person or the other, but when it comes down to it, I would almost assume that it has a lot to do with the Wagner group that's actually hanging out in that area. And they may have actually, because they've been trying and attempting to actually push NATO to actually get more involved than they already are with this particular war with Ukraine. That when you actually look at it, for Poland to actually shut off that pipeline in between because there's damage, really shuts Germany off from their need for that particular oil line to come through. Not like there isn't a fuel line. So, they're not limited on how much power is coming through. That there's other things that these oils that they would be using would have an issue with. What? Why? Who leaves bleach in an enclosed area? Why would you do that? That's a little weird. What's up, Puffer Pete? Good to see you, dude. You caught it. Yes, you made it. You made it. Welcome. Glad you're here. But kind of an interesting ordeal to actually see Poland actually going ahead and shutting down this oil pipeline headed into Germany. I thought it would be kind of an interesting, transition point to go from one to the next. So then all of a sudden, when you look at it, oh, India, the spacecraft enters moon orbit. So they've actually gone ahead and launched their own rocket out of India to go head to the moon. India's third lunar exploration mission has been successfully inserted into orbit around the moon on Saturday, 22 days after it left Earth. The Indian Space Research Organization has said the spacecraft, which is launched in the Satish Dhawan Space Center on the country's east coast in mid-July, has completed around 2/3 of its journey to the moon. The lunar orbit insertion performed, performed by on Saturday is a critical phase in the mission aimed to sending a spacecraft from its trajectory around the Earth to a trajectory that will allow it to enter the orbit of the moon. So it's not really like it's like major massive news for them to actually go ahead and launch this something into orbit in and around the moon. It's interesting that India has actually gone ahead and actually come up with the means to actually do such a thing. They actually obviously have their own science teams, and they've been able to actually come up with a way to actually do such a thing. So everybody's doing something, right? Everybody's doing something. Japan ignores U.S. role in Hiroshima bombing anniversary, but then they go ahead and they condemn Russia for their use of or supposed nuclear threats. So it's like it's really kind of interesting how allies will forgive you for the things that you've done, and then go ahead and still point at the other to be like, oh, look what they did, look what they're doing. Hanging on by a thread. I listen to you when I wake up in the middle of the night in the morning. Very good to see you too, sir. Yes, it's wonderful to see you. Hopefully, I don't lull you to sleep too fast here. There's some stuff to go through. I kind of find it a little interesting how Japan just kind of glazes over the fact that the United States is the ones that actually destroyed their city for them to actually not really care about that. Just kind of glaze it over and point fingers at Russia to not do the same. So then, like I said, there's just a little bit of something that's happening almost everywhere. Former NATO commander warns of devastating full-blown war in Africa. Everybody's going to get into it. They're like, yes, I want parts of that. Pam Graham, what's up? Good to see you. Glad you're here. Former NATO Supreme Allied Commander Europe, James Stavridis, warned on Sunday that the conflict in Niger, amid looming deadline with the coup leaders to cede power, could potentially lead to a full-blown war in Africa. The Sunday deadline established a coalition of West African nations for Niger to return to democratic rule is set to expire. The demand has been shunned by fellow military-led countries, Burkina Faso and Mali, who have jointly warned that any intervention could amount to a declaration of war. While conflict is far from guaranteed, the conditions for a major escalation are quickly brewing on the continent that has played host to some of the deadliest wars in the past century. Some believe that such a confrontation would have vast ramifications, not only for the people of the Sahel region, but far beyond the potential draw of likes of the United States, France, and Russia, among other invested powers. Another proxy war, just something just to say, well, we're not involved, but we're going to fund it. We're going to fund it. Dang well the United States will fund this over and over again. They're going to fund the one side of this war and fight against the other, and then they're probably going to blame it on the other to say, look at all the things that they're doing. They're attacking Ukraine. They're attacking here. They're attacking there. Russia is attacking everybody according to what they're going to. You can see it. You can see how far this is actually going to go. And if it leads to that full blown war that they're actually thinking it might just potentially be, it's just going to be another front for World War III. You're gonna see this war in Ukraine continue for the next few years. You're going to see this war in Niger happen. And then you're going to go over and you're going to see war in China with Taiwan, and then you're going to actually see Japan and their issues, and every other country that's out there is going to actually already have friends with one of them and be allies with one of them. It doesn't matter how many times we go over this and how many times we hit on different things happening. It just seems like over and over again we come up with the same conclusion that World War III is inevitable, and it's going to happen sooner than any of us want it to. It's going to get very scary very quick. We're supposed to help our fellow man, but when does it go too far? Who knows when it goes too far? The only people that will actually know that are the ones that are actually left on the face of the planet after everything is wiped out. So we're going to fund this BS, but they let 30,000 people lose their job at Yellow Truck. 30,000? It looked like it was a heck of a lot more than just 30,000. I don't like government spending any money, but like we are going to spend it on the home front. They won't, because the only person that really, the one person that really has everything to say about everything, Joe Biden, doesn't care about us. He doesn't care about us. He doesn't really care about what happens here on the mainland. He wants to actually go ahead and fund all these wars because, dang well that he actually has, he's got his stocks in all these different places that already build the weaponry, and that's what he's going to do. That's what he's going to do. Dang well. And that's why I say each and every single Congress member, and maybe even president himself, should all be wearing NASCAR jackets that actually show everything that's actually going ahead and sponsoring them to actually go ahead and do whatever they're doing. And we'll see these big, huge logos for like Raytheon and all these other businesses that are actually military based. We're the baddies under the Biden region. Can you really blame Putin for anything? No. For everything? No, not at all. And I've called it out several times. You look at Putin, you look at Russia, you look at what they're about, and you can actually see that they're the Catholic, they are the conservative, fighting off those Azov Italian Nazis that are stationed in Ukraine that we're supposedly backing. It seems as though there's something that's really seriously wrong that we're not paying attention to. Those conservative Catholics of Russia are the ones that we're saying are the bad guys. But I really believe that it's the other way around, that we should actually be looking at them as they're the actually good guys, and maybe a bunch of us should actually go ahead and maybe defect to Russia. We might be better off. But we have to go. We live here in the United States. If we go against everything that they actually have to say, everything that they're about, we run into other issues. So, I'll spit my opinion because I don't really care. And because I don't really care when it comes down to it. And I love this channel all so much, and all of you. Make sure that you actually check out the Rumble channel if you haven't done so already, and go and subscribe over there, because if something happens here, I'll still be there. I'm not going to stop. I wish you got proof of how our money was spent. Oh, well, curse words. We kind of do have proof. We kind of do. When it actually comes down to it, we actually seen the first accusation of laundering. Money goes from the United States into Ukraine, comes out into FTX, right back in DNC, and into Joe Biden's back pocket. That's the circle. That's the circle. That's where the money's going. You want to know where it's going? Joe Biden. That's exactly where it's going in the long run. Yeah, we may be better off in Russia unless we can get these evil creeps out. Exactly. Yep. All right. So then, our own military is having issues. Tommy Tuberville was a big uh, um, push to actually not appoint generals to any of these military might that we actually have in and around the United States. They're like each one of our services is actually lacking in command. So when it comes down to it, it's kind of interesting to see. So this is Army's new enlisted leader. A Green Beret can lead the rank and file. Sergeant Major Michael Weimer, who's effectively spent his whole Army career in special forces and large swath of his time in the secretive Delta forces. He has more than enough combat bona fides, 3 Bronze Stars, Joint Service Commendation Medals of Valor, along with 2 Purple Hearts. On Friday, Weimer took the helm of the new Sergeant Major of the Army. The service will now see how a Green Beret leads its ranks and file soldiers. My own assessment was I have at least experience in a total army compared to others. I absolutely do believe I came out. I come at problems differently. I love change. I don't like change for change's sake, but I'm not a status quo person. Weimer said in an interview with military.com, I think special operations help me in that space. We need a fresh set of eyes. We can use a different perspective. As the service top enlisted leader, Weimer is in charge of assuring that the forces is ready for war. But the role is much more than that. He'll be the face of the Army and set the tone with the overseeing personnel issues. Gonna make this just a little bit bigger. Let's see, where were we? Overseeing personnel issues that make up the bulk of the day-to-day concerns of the force. No one questions Weimer's combat credentials, but he comes to the role with a little experience in conventional army, and all that challenge is frequently different for those faced by special operations, which is often siloed by the regular force. Out of previous 16 top enlisted leaders, only 3 spent time in special operations, but even they spent much more of their careers in the conventional army. I had to reflect on that. Michael Greenston, the previous sergeant major of the Army, suggested Weimer apply for the role. Roughly 30 command sergeant majors applied for the position, with 3, including Weimer, being seriously considered for the final interviews. Weimer, 51, is usually jovial. He walks into a room and makes the point of to acknowledge everyone there, taking the perfect amount of time to ask them how their day is, intensely listening, finding some quick common ground and moving on. He says his Christian faith is what ultimately grounds him. He has the knack of remembering faces and names after only a single brief interaction with one Pentagon staffer describing as his superpower. Weimer often wears a uniform stripped with accolades, rarely wearing his combat infantryman or air assault badges, awards that are not special to the units he served in. He doesn't even wear a combat patch, a unit insignia on the right shoulder sleeve that shows who a soldier went to war with. But his formal dress uniform is in perfect condition, stacked with numerous awards and badges, ready for most nitpicky inspections. You're going to see me mix it up, but your character and who you are isn't in your badges. Those are things that are accomplished in your journey. Oftentimes, it is a long time ago. I'm really interested in what you're doing today. On Fridays, he'll wear a complete uniform because he sees it as an appropriate thing to do. But for him, it remains all about now. You got to get up in the morning and bring it again. You can't rest on, well, I brought it 10 years ago. Grinston retired Friday after enlisting in the Army in 1987 as an artilleryman. He is unusually vocal in social media and uncommonly available to the media during his tenure. During his 4 years as Sergeant Major of the Army, Grinston oversaw some of the most transformative times of service, including implementation of the new physical fitness and marksmanship tests, revamping grooming standards for women, implementing an expert soldier badge. His tenures overlapped by Koof, J6, and gruesome slaying of Vanessa Gillian, Grinston, who widely known as the wielding social media to reach out for rank and file troops and to defend soldiers' rights to serve. Even the political commentators bludgeoned to the force for being more welcoming to women and other historically marginalized groups. There was a requirement to be able to do what you did, to speak up and advocate, get your messaging out. I give them the big kudos. They were what we call the pathfinders in that space, Weimer said, referring to Grinston and his team. How it's going to look for me, I don't know. We're going to engage. We're not going to completely withdraw. I think it's too important. Weimer comes at a critical time for the service. After 2 decades of global war on terrorism, the Army is in the midst of shifting its policy and doctrine and upgrading its gear for conventional warfare, and passionate about the war mindset. Now, what does that mean for cyber warrior or logistian? What's the piece I think we've got to really dive down to? It's truly a mindset. I get up, put on this uniform in the morning. How do I fit into the warrior culture? We got to define that, and coach, teach, and mentor the model it. So, this guy in himself, you can see there's a couple more paragraphs that go along with him. And what he's actually about. It sounds like he could actually be something that would actually be somebody we could look up to, somebody that could actually do this particular job. It looks like there's other people that have actually looked for and tried to actually take that position, but it looks like this Green Beret could actually lead ranks. And if you can get a Green Beret to actually lead the ranks, I think that could actually be a good deal for the most. I'm kind of down with it, and we can actually see what actually happens with this particular person as we move through. I wish we improve. Joe Biden's offshore accounts, plenty of proof. He definitely. What's funny? The money in New Face doesn't change shit, but public opinion before judgment. Mad Core Mofo, what is up, brother? Good to see you. Good to see you. Waiting is not an option for Marines. Top Marine officer issues guidance as confirmation stalls. Again, they're stalling on particular installments of people to actually, or confirmation of people to actually run our military needs. And a lot of this has actually been stalled by particular people of Tommy Tuberville, because he really doesn't. He wants things to actually be different than what they are. So he's going to continue to block as much as he possibly can. Now, for a Republican to do such a thing is really kind of odd in itself, but he doesn't want whoever it is that they're actually selecting, because he knows that whoever does get selected for those particular instances could actually be somebody that's not necessarily the best. The Marine Corps acting chief issued a letter to the force of the week pledging continuity as an unprecedented congressional blockade of the confirmation of the commandant continues. General Eric Smith officially holds the title of Assistant Commandant. However, he assumed the additional role of Acting Commandant when General David Berger stepped down nearly a month ago without a Senate-confirmed successor. For the first time in 164 years, the service does not have a confirmed chief. Smith's appointment has been stopped by Tommy Tuberville, a Republican senator from Alabama, who's holding up roughly 270 military nominations and promotions over his objections on the Pentagon's policy allowing troops and other dependents to leave and travel reimbursement for reproductive care, including abortions. I mean, technically, the guy has the right to actually do what he wants, to actually hold up any of these nominations for whatever reason he wants. For him to actually choose that particular reason and not wanting to actually ship people around from state to state or from location to location because they decided that they wanted to actually use reproductive care, such as abortion, in wherever they decide to actually go. It's kind of scary and disturbing to actually think that, that most of the people that would be appointed would actually be for this particular situation, but they know dang well, he knows dang well that if he can't get them to actually back up what it is that he, how he feels when it comes to the abortion stuff, that everybody else needs to actually look at it too and potentially, go away. He's like, go away with the abortion stuff. I don't want to hear about it. I don't want anything to do with it. Until the Senate confirms the 39th Commandant, this guidance will serve as a reference point. Smith wrote in thousands of Marines via letter 8. Dated August 1st, I cannot predict how long this process may take, but waiting is not an option for Marines. As we know, as we will move out of this team just as we would in combat, we're always the strongest as a team. In 2019, Berger issued a 26-page Commandant's planning guidance a week after he took command. Smith, whose hold has no clear end date, intentionally left his 4-page letter broad and to leave space for the future official planning guidance. During Berger's retirement ceremonies, Smith told reporters that he retains the authority of the official of commandant despite the hold. Temporarily, because if you look at the person that's actually there, of Joe Biden, who actually gets to actually select these people to actually go up and be confirmed through the Senate, he could pick anybody he wanted. He could do another Rachel Levine type thing or whatever, and we could actually have something like that as as commandant. And you don't want that. We don't want that to actually be a thing. And we definitely don't want some jerk off that's going to be like, well, let's make sure that all military has the right to go along and get have an abortion at will and use that as reproductive rights. It's not reproductive rights. If you really seriously want rights, you go wear a condom. Stop just doing whatever it is that you wish. The opening volley of the letter centered around Force Design 2030 is a sweeping restructuring and modernization plan with the Marine Corps that is implemented under Berger and will be continued under Smith. A key ingredient to redesign the fervent desire to bolster amphibious core and heritage of the service, even amid technological and structural changes. It was clear threads at Smith's guidance. We are a naval force biased towards the high-end fight, but capable of responding across the spectrum of conflict. We have a legacy of fighting ashore from Belleau Wood to Helmand, but we are and must remain naval in nature, always with an eye toward the sea. Smith listed 5 priorities: accelerating modernization efforts and rapidly responding to crises, integrating with the Navy at every level possible, improving quality of life items like living conditions and childcare, recruiting and retaining Marines, and providing resources for reserve force. I get it. You want to actually go ahead and give them the resources that they need, but is something abortion in itself really a resource that should actually be given to these people? I don't see it as being something that's actually healthy for anybody when it comes down to it. What I require is that when decisions are made, we move out of one of the attack our problems together. These decisions will be made after hearing from Marines and their leadership. Smith said that expects the standards have applied equally, no matter the rank. He said he owes Marines a command climate where honest mistakes can be made. That expects troops to exceed standards set out before them. He warned the criminal activity like DUIs and sexual assaults will be eliminated. If and more likely when he is confirmed, Smith will take the commandant spot during the seismic shift for the U.S. defense apparatus as tensions with China simmer and simmer. Kind of almost to a boil there. And the service enters what Sergeant Major Troy Black will assumed duties as a senior enlisted advisor of the Joint Chiefs in November, described as the interwar period. While talking with reporters Wednesday, Sergeant Major Carlos Ruiz, the incoming top enlisted leader of the Marine Corps, Smith's counterpart upon confirmation, told reporters that Marines are going to get called somewhere. This is your time to prep, he said, addressing young Marines. Our profession of warfighting is unforgiving. With no margin or carelessness, errors in combat lead to defeat, and Marines do not lose. In June, Smith had a confirmation hearing about the Senate Armed Services Committee where Tuberville lauded his background and offered a four-star general his support. Smith's letter was focused in direction of the guidance in the force and did not reference Tuberville's hold overtly. When asked about the blockade during the hearing, however, he said in part it certainly comprises our ability to be most ready. I'm with Tuberville when it comes down to it. He should actually hold anything and everything up that he wants when it comes to his own convictions. They're his. He has the right to them. He has the right to actually do such a thing. And I don't feel that abortion should be one of those things that should just be allowed in our military. There's so many things that we've been allowing in military lately that seriously really makes me question their actual might when it comes down to seeing a guy dressed in drag. Kind of reminds me of going back and watching MASH, which back then we all laughed and giggled at and thought it was hilarious. But nowadays, when you actually see somebody actually doing it, they've actually gone to the point of actually chopping things off and makes it unhealthy in the long run. Are they really seriously mentally capable of actually doing what is necessary to protect this country? I don't think they are. Why don't unborn kids have rights? Exactly. And it's really dependent on when you actually call, say you're pregnant and you're walking down the street and guy goes and he takes you out and kills both you and the baby. It's considered a baby. But if you go walk into a Planned Parenthood or you walk into a doctor's office and you unalive that child at the same time, you're okay with it because it's just a cluster of cells. The ignorance on what we call a baby and what we don't is the hard part on all this. And it's very difficult to actually understand how far they've actually gone with a lot of this. It's very disturbing for them to not confirm military leaders. Will General Eric Smith actually get the position in the long run? Yeah, most likely. There's a very good chance. There's a very good chance that he'll still get the position. Tuberville wants what he wants, and he's going to refuse to do anything different. So we still don't technically have official commandants for Marines, as well as what that number was 270 military nominations and promotions. 270 of them that he's holding up. That Tuberville's actually gone to the point of actually saying, no, I'm not going to nominate, I'm not going to promote. Take care of this right here. Remove that from actually being reproductive care in the military. And then all these 270 military nominations will probably go through without an issue. But Tommy Tuberville actually has some convictions, and I'm glad that he does. Somebody needed to actually have a set of cojones, and he just so happens to be the guy with those cojones. Kind of move on a little bit before I actually move on to this particular issue. If you're being that you're all here, don't forget, hit that like button, share this stuff out. What's up, Peeve Beaver? What's up, Vicky sitting over on Rumble, as well as Buck Fiden. I'm not voting for Michelle Obama's floppy. I would not vote for Michelle Obama's floppy either. I'll most likely be voting for this guy right here if it comes down to it. I still haven't changed. Nobody's been able to actually change my mind. And there's no reason for me to change my mind quite yet. The sad part is it kind of sounds like Michelle Obama and Gavin Newsom. Gavin Newsom might actually be the next people that we might potentially be looking at to take those positions. Kind of gross and disturbing to actually think that it could go that far. But, we'll see. We'll see what happens. Y'all hit up that chat. Let's go. Come on. Flood it. Flood it. Give me lots of stuff. Give me too much so I can't read it all. Don't forget, though, tomorrow, 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, I will have Good Logic right here talking to me, holding a conversation, and we don't know what kind of conversation will actually be had. You just be lucky to actually have them here. What's up, Lucky Chucky? Good to see you. Puffer says, I'm half asleep. Well, when you decide to doze off, you sleep well. Have a good night. Hunter Biden business dealings likely tied to U.S. posture toward Ukraine, says Ramaswamy. Oh, like we didn't already have that opinion in our head when it came down to it. I mean, I did anyway. Republican presidential candidate Vivek Ramaswamy suggested Saturday that the United States' involvement in the war in Ukraine is likely tied to allegations that President Joe Biden's son received bribes from overseas energy firm Burisma. The purpose of the U.S. military is to advance American interests to protect the homeland, not to aimlessly fight some random war that is arguably a repayment for a private bribe that a family member of the United States received $5 million from Burisma, Ramaswamy said during a campaign event in front of around 60 Iowans in Council Bluff. Ramaswamy said it's likely that Hunter Biden's former dealings with Ukraine are intertwined in the current military crises between Russia. Was the payment to Hunter Biden corrupt? Absolutely it was. Do I think that there's some relationship toward our posture toward Ukraine? I think it's likely that it does. The $5 million that the presidential candidate spoke of echoes accusations made by Republican lawmakers, including House Oversight Committee Chair James Comer, who is accused of Biden family of taking bribery payments related to younger Biden's foreign business dealings. After 5 years of investigation led by the Justice Department, Hunter Biden, 53, agreed to enter a deal to plead guilty to tax evasion counts and felony gun charge The deal was put on hold last month after a Delaware federal judge questioned the scope of the deal, while House Republicans have continued their investigation into the Biden family. A former business partner of Hunter Biden, Devin Archer, testified in a closed door session to members of Congress. He said that there are several business meetings in younger Biden had where his father would call in, but said business was never directly discussed, and that the first son would use the illusion of power from his father to make deals. Archer later admitted that the tactics were a soft abuse of power. In his opinion, he has testified he is not aware of foreign policy decisions related to Ukraine being altered due to the first son's business there. For Vivek Ramaswamy to actually go ahead and actually assume that this is just what it is, it probably isn't so far off. I would almost assume that whatever it is that he decided to do, would just be that. It's not you, it's the biological bedtime. No, but I can lull you to sleep. I'm sure if I actually talked in a nice, soft voice, we could actually get you to the point of actually just dozing off. Ellie Font, what's up, dear? Good to see you. Happy Sunday to you. Mark Levin is Donald Trump's legal counsel. Really? Awesome. And reaching out to Supreme Court to shut down the legal witch hunts he is facing from the chief political opponent. Former President Donald Trump is piggybacking off his latest recommendation to him made by conservative talk show giant and former Justice Department Chief of Staff Mark Levin. Trump's call to the True Social platform today read like Levin's thread on X, formerly known as Twitter, from last night, in which he posted, I want the public to encourage the Trump legal team to seek an emergency hearing before the U.S. Supreme Court, not to resolve legal disputes, but to at least temporarily halt the abomination of legal warfare that is unfolding in front of us. He added, this unprecedented legal warfare requires an unprecedented response by the only constitutional body left that can do something about it, the Supreme Court. And after this story posted, Levin added another post about how Trump can get the Supreme Court to consider his appeal. And that one, he concluded, individual district court judges ought not decide for the nation how we shall now proceed. Given that the Biden DOJ has foisted by the nation, this matter needs to go or to get to SCOTUS. And True Social, Trump posted this morning, it is an election interference and the Supreme Court must intercede. As the indictment, is this the one? Yeah. Crazy. My political opponent has hit me with a barrage of weak lawsuits, including DA, AG, and others, which require massive amounts of my time and money to adjudicate. Resources that would have gone into ads and rallies will now have to be spent fighting these radical left thugs in numerous courts throughout the country. I'm leading at all polls, including against Crooked Joe, but this is not a level playing field. It's election interference, and Supreme Court must intercede. Make America great again. He's actually gone to the point of actually, saying all the stuff that he needs to say, and he believes it. He believes just that. Now, do we believe that? Potentially, but we do know that Joe Biden is the most legitimate president ever with the most votes, because that's just the way it is. As the indictments have added up against Trump, Levin has become more outspoken against Attorney General Merrick Garland, President Joe Biden, and Special Counsel Jack Smith, accusing the trio of running a political destruction shop aimed at the 45th president. with the goal of pushing him out of the race and forbidding him from serving as president due to the 14th Amendment restrictions. After Trump pleaded not guilty yesterday on a third indictment, Levin wrote, "The Attorney General is approving the timing of dozens of charges against former Republican president who is actively seeking his party nomination to challenge the Democrat president for whom he directly reports, which are intended to cripple the ability of Donald Trump to effectively run for president, regardless of what polls show today." And I don't think Levin's that far off when it comes down to it. I really do believe that that's what they're trying to do, is they're trying to drain him of all his personal monies and actually make it be that he has nothing of his own to actually bolster himself to, come through for us in 2024. It should be interesting to see what actually does happen as time proceeds and we get closer and closer to election cycle. Levin made similar comments in his nationally syndicated radio show last night. He also posted on X that Trump should pardon himself if elected and inaugurated. Well, of course, that's what he's going to do. He's not going to be like, oh, I did it. He's not going to turn around and be like, oops, no, it's not going to happen. It's not going to happen. While Levin is best known for his books, radio, and TV shows, it is his legal background that propelled him into the public eye decades ago. As head of the landmark legal foundation, he looks at on the Clinton administration. He took on the Clinton administration and especially Hillary Clinton's projects. He was also the DOJ's chief of staff under Edwin Meese, former President Ronald Reagan's top lawyer and arguably one of the most influential in decades. Ever since Trump won 2016 against expected winner Hillary Clinton, Democrats have tried to change the way elections are conducted and even end the use of particular electoral college. In his post, Levin said that the Justice Department's assault on Trump is just another way of killing U.S. elections. The fact is that this kind of legal warfare against the presidential and possible, if not likely, opponent to the present president, is not only unprecedented in the history of our republic, it will destroy the electoral system for all time. It's not something that should be left to various districts, courts, or local courts to sort out in a regular course judicial proceedings. In fact, that is part of the intended strategy by the prosecutors who are engaged in an assault on the electoral system. They must not be rewarded for their behavior. They must not be rewarded for their treachery and exploitation of the legal system and the courts to achieve their political ends. Very interesting to actually think about. That Levin's actually come to the point of actually, trying to be, some kind of legal counsel for Trump, and says straight out that what's currently happening is intended to just do that and destroy this country, and will completely destroy this country as we actually move on. I don't see it being a good thing. It sounds very horrible. To not go against that and actually believe that, or to go against it and actually believe that the electoral college is bad. The electoral college is what's there to actually appoint the correct person into the position, and they know if they can actually alter that they can actually have what they want. Mark Levin, the radio show host, is also an attorney. Isn't that fun? How many attorneys have radio shows on almost just about every single platform? It seems like a lot of attorneys, a lot of lawyers, a lot of barred people decide to actually go ahead and do just that and create shows to spit their knowledge of so many things. Yeah, I think that's exactly probably Fox News. Yep. I wouldn't doubt it. Not that I care for Fox News, but Mark Levin actually being somebody to actually speak up for Trump is very fun and interesting to see. I'm glad that he does. I'm glad that he actually sees the truth and he actually go ahead and provide information about the truth. Well, attorneys like to perform. Yeah, they do. They do, don't they? Isn't that something? Do you watch Tucker's news show? I've missed the last couple, but yes, I have actually watched a couple of them, and yeah, very interesting. Very interesting to actually something to actually pay attention to. I'm focused on the stuff that's going on in Niger. Yes, there's a lot that's happening with Niger, and as we actually sort of hit on Niger already tonight, it's kind of sounds like there's going to be another front for war that will actually be just there because they're actually asking for help. France needs help, so the United States will jump in on that, and then Russia will jump in on the other side. So then there'll be another proxy war, just like there is in Ukraine. Ice Cube is the goat, especially from the 21 Jump Street. Yeah, it was a pretty good movie. I don't really watch a lot of movies, and I remember watching that one. Trump attorney John Laurel and Dana Bash spar over press freedom is speech versus action in CNN's State of the Union. We're going to actually listen to this. We're not going to actually read this article in particular. Right? Oh, we could actually read this one. I could give them my own voices. Let's not. Let's add to stream. No. Don't take my whole screen from me. Okay, let's going to refresh this. You notice how she calls him out, right? Wait a minute, that's not what that is. This is by something else. And this is crappy news network actually going ahead and actually calling him out for what it is. Are you kidding me? No sound? Oh. I know why. Show the screen right.
This weekend, the judge rejected your request for 3 more days to
Thanks,
consider the special counsel's proposed rules for how to handle evidence. The proposed protective order that would let Trump use some sensitive information, but not take that information with him. Will you agree to that?
Well, first of all, this protective order that's being...
You see the look in his face when she asked the question? He's like, that's not what it is. That's not what it is, huh?
Your request for 3 more days to consider the special counsel's proposed rules for how to handle evidence. The proposed protective order that would let Trump use some sensitive information, but not take that information with him. Will you agree to that?
Well, first of all, this protective order that's being suggested by the Biden administration is an effort to keep from the press important non-sensitive information that the Biden administration has that may speak to...
This isn't by the Biden administration. This is by the
President
special
Trump.
independent counsel.
And no, here for this reason, no.
No. Here for this reason, no. Okay, all right. You say so. If is that how you really feel about it? Real quick, I'm going to go back just a few. Bernie Mac says electoral college is correct, but they want New York, most likely, is what you're trying to get at, and California to decide all elections. It's unfair and unconstitutional. I'm with you on that. It is totally unfair and unconstitutional for them to actually take away the electoral college. They should leave it the way it actually is. Um, it pisses me off when interviewers cut off their guests. Yeah.
The independent counsel, it's not independent, it's special counsel, has to get the approval of Merrick Garland in order to go forward. Joe Biden said in November 2022 that he wanted to see President Trump prosecuted and taken out of this race.
There's
So it
no,
is the Biden
I'm just going to stop you
administration. Make no
because there's
mistake
no
about it.
evidence.
But the
that
bottom line is,
Joe Biden.
She's gonna cut. I need to stop you. I need to cut you off. That's not what it is. You need to actually go back and you need to actually listen to what I have to say. Is what
I'm just going to stop you because there's no evidence.
But the bottom line is,
Joe Biden is involved in this, and you're right. It's a special counsel. Let's just stick to the question.
Are you sure that there's no evidence that Joe Biden had anything to do with it? Are you sure? Are you sure? Because he's pretty adamant that he knows what he's talking about. And you're going to cut him off because you need to keep spinning your crappy news network narrative.
Do you believe that this is something that you'll agree to?
The point is that we will not agree to keeping information that's not sensitive from the press. The press and the American people in a campaign season have a right to know what the evidence is in this case, provided that this evidence is not protected otherwise. So we're going to oppose it, as we have. But for whatever reason, these lawyers on the prosecution team want to keep that from the press.
Well, won't the evidence come out in trial anyway?
That the press...
I mean, she asked a legitimate question when it came down, but won't it come down to it anyway? Will it? Are you sure that's what you know? I mean, that's exactly what's going to happen? How do you know that's what's going to happen? Are you projecting that you actually think that's what it's going to actually be, and it's going to be something more than what he's actually saying?
Some of it will, not all of it. I'm shocked that the press isn't lined up objecting to this protective order, because not only is President Trump being attacked for his First Amendment rights, now these prosecutors are trying to impinge on the freedom of the press.
Okay, let's stick to...
Okay, I gotta cut you off again. I have to cut you off because you're going too far. You're actually starting to state truths that we don't want to actually say here on Crappy News Network. We need to go against what you're saying, and we got to cut you off. We got to cut you off.
I appreciate you trying to stick up
what's
for us.
happening. I'm telling you.
I appreciate you trying to stick up for us, but let's talk about...
We're both going to talk over the top of each other because, he just wants to get his point out. He wants to get his point out. And I believe that he might just be right when it comes down to it. And she's going to refuse to allow him to actually do this. Now, we had just learned the other day that they want to actually broadcast all of the Trump hearings that are coming through, because they think that it's so important to do so. And I agree. Open up that door to allow us to see federal cases as they actually go through, so that Crappy News Network and faux news or any other can't spin narratives to make it sound like something happened when we have no clue what exactly did happen because we're unable to see it. I hope to God that they open that door up and they actually start airing that out. Let's go. Let's air it out. Let's learn the truth. Let's watch these news networks, CNN, NBC, ABC, CBS, MSNBC, any other that has anything to do with anything, and see how much they flounder as time actually progresses and they actually start learning things that they never thought that they'd learn before.
About the actual
I'm telling you what's going on right
substance
now.
of what they were trying to do in the filing, which was try to make the point not only that they want to keep the discovery information, what the witnesses said for the time being, quiet, but also he made pretty clear, the special counsel, that the idea that the former president is calling him deranged and mentally ill is something that maybe shouldn't be happening.
You see him trying to hold back a laugh. A laugh for you, dude. Why invite him on if she's going to do nothing but talk over him? And that's why we're actually watching it, is because the verbal spat that's that could potentially be, like Elephant said, it'd be sexual tension, and it could be just that. And Murph's turf is correct. If we rely on mainstream media all the time and we don't actually listen to what's actually being said by both sides, we're going to be screwed. And when I say both sides, I'm not talking Fox News. Fox News is not the other side. They're the paid opposition. They're not the other side whatsoever. For anybody thinks that Fox News is the other side, they're greatly mistaken.
So let me ask you, as his attorney in this criminal case, do you want your client to stop speaking publicly like this? Using terms like that.
This case was brought by the Biden administration in the middle of a political campaign, and with the realization that people are out there campaigning for office. I'm not involved in the campaign. I'm involved in representing.
Totally understand.
Mr.
You're
Trump
not
in
his
a criminal
campaign
proceeding.
manager.
Why won't you let him finish his sentence? If I was him, I'd be like, let me finish what I'm saying. Quit cutting me off. What is your problem? What is your problem? Are you frustrated? Need something?
You are his lawyer. As his lawyer, would you want a client to say things like this about the special counsel?
One thing that we are going to do is fight this very unusual, outside of the bounds criminal prosecution of First Amendment rights.
Okay, before I actually continue with this real quick, because Loki's here, I have to actually say it yet one more time. Don't forget to come back tomorrow at a special start time of 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time to actually catch myself and Good Logic as we speak about whatever we do speak about. We're going to actually have a nice little conversation. It's going to be members only. If you don't already have a membership, make sure that you at least have gift options turned on, and or maybe think of actually grabbing one of those so you can actually catch those members only streams that will come up through the rest of the month.
Vigorously in court. My focus is on addressing the issues. One of the issues that the Biden administration will have to prove beyond a reasonable doubt is that Donald Trump had corrupt intent, had criminal intent when he protested the results of the 2020 election. That's core freedom of speech. That's
okay.
Core
let's talk about this. You've talked about freedom of speech
under our Constitution.
You've talked about freedom of speech a lot. I want you to listen.
Okay. So let me cut you off real quick. Let me cut you off so that way you can actually, I can ask you a different question and go off of something else, because you keep on bringing up freedom of speech.
Listen to what Donald Trump's own former attorney general said about that argument.
I really don't think that's a valid argument. He can say whatever he wants. He can even lie. He can even tell people that the election was stolen.
Again, we don't believe that. We here actually believe that Joe Biden is the most legitimate president ever with the most votes. No contest whatsoever.
When he knew better. Free speech doesn't give you the right to engage in a fraudulent conspiracy.
Your response?
Well, first of all, there was no fraudulent conspiracy. That's part of the reality of the defense. What President Trump was entitled to do, and what Mr. Barr misses, and I'm not sure he's read all the cases, but when it comes to political speech, you can not only advocate for a position, but you can take action, you can petition, you can ask even your vice president to pause the vote for a period of time in order to allow the states to recertify.
But you can't break the law, which is what this indictment alleges.
What was it?
It alleges that he caused actions like
what was it? They just shit all over each other as opposed to letting either one of them talk. And it's not just her. It's not just her. I believe that if he would actually just stop for a second and let her say what she needs to say, and then when she actually cuts him off, just be like, "Stop cutting me off." What made me actually think when you said hi that I should remind everybody of that you don't have a nice little fun little star after your name, and I just don't want people that didn't have stars after the name to not catch such a thing, or at least have gift options turned on, as you just don't know who's going to actually gift those out and who will actually get those to be able to come and show up for a members only stream with good logic. Tell her, hey, I'm not done talking. Man up, son. Yeah, I'm with you on that one, Bernie Mac. He just needs to actually just speak up and just be like, wait a minute. Bill Barr fooled a lot of people. He sure did. We actually listened to that speech the other day or whatever when he was actually talking to her, and it was quite something. It was quite something.
That was fraudulent. What was it?
I'll tell you what the
fraudulent?
I'll tell you what the
was
indictment.
What was that?
I'll tell you what the indictment says. The indictment says that he attempted to cause actions like approving fake electors, opening sham fraud investigations, and obstructing the certification of the election. Whether he can prove that, that's going to happen in the trial. I'm just saying what's in the indictment.
Yeah, but right. And let me take the first thing, the question about electors, okay? Alternate electors are used in every 4-year cycles, okay?
In all 4-year cycles, every single time there's the potentiality of each state having alternate electors actually sent. It is not something that isn't possible to actually be done. It will happen, and you're going to see it again over and over again. Almost every single election has some alternate electors that are actually sent, that the vice president gets to look at and actually decide on what he feels the most legit. I believe Pence, the gold trinket that was handed to him for the things that he had done for the deep state. He's as much of a rhino as McConnell or McCarthy or several others when it comes down to it.
The Senate parliamentarian acknowledged to Vice President Pence that they always receive protest alternate electors. None of those electors were counted. Vice President Pence was completely aware of the nature of the.
They weren't counted because Mike Pence.
She just so happens to be the one that's going to be able to cut him off and tell him exactly how it is, because she knows. She knows she's just a person that's sitting there that's being paid by Crappy News Network to actually look pretty. She really doesn't. She annoys the shit out of me.
Rejected this scheme. That's why they weren't
absolutely,
counted.
And that's how the, of course, and that's how the political process works. But there was no defrauding, there was no trickery, there was no deceit, because
if Mike Pence had said yes, then that.
You see the smile and look on his face as he's actually spitting this out. He knows what he believes. He knows what happened, and he's going to continue to believe that. Nobody's going to actually change his mind that he doesn't believe his own thoughts, especially this wackadoo that's sitting here showing her roots.
That's exactly what would have happened.
No, because.
And that's only one.
I don't want to. The press.
I don't want to go down.
I don't want to go down. I don't want to go down that. I don't want to go down that route, because I know once I actually go down that route and I actually learn something that I never knew before, that it will never leave my head that I actually learned that, and now I know the truth, and I don't want to know the truth. I don't want to know the truth. Stop telling me that.
Finish though, because no, but
there it is. He finally says, "Let me finish." That's what he should have been saying from the beginning. Let me finish. Quit cutting me off, you wretched witch.
A question, and I hope you can let me finish, because the government alleges deceit or trickery, and all of this played out in the open. It's all free speech. There was a Supreme Court decision, Hammerschmidt, which is right on point, that says when you're exercising free speech, you're not engaging in a fraud on the
Okay.
government.
We-
And that's what, unfortunately, most people don't
That's
understand
just one.
in
That's
this
just one
context. Now,
example
it's
of
very
the
political.
actions. That's just
Right,
one example
but
of the actions in this
absolutely, but you're
indictment.
entitled.
And this is a long list that we've
Right.
compiled from the indictment. I mean, it's more than a dozen, not speech, actions that the former president
Like what?
allegedly took.
Like what?
I mean, where do I even
Like
start?
what? Tell me.
Asking
What
the
action?
Arizona speaker to interfere with ascertaining Arizona's electors.
Asking.
The Justice
Asking.
Department to
Asking
conduct.
is speech.
But
That's
any
the
but
point.
any alleged
Asking is speech.
but any
It's not action.
almost all alleged criminal activity.
You can see that smile, that big, huge, cheesy grin that's on his face is just ripping her up on the inside.
Has to do with using words and his speech.
No.
And that's listen.
What you don't
This is obviously the defense that you're going to use, and it will be fascinating to see how it works out in a court of law. I want to move on to another issue.
No.
No, don't move on. Don't move on, because the second you move on, you're just trying to prevent me from actually finishing my statement that I need to make about the last thing you were trying to talk about, that you refuse to allow me to finish, because you know the second that I actually get something over and above you, that your pretty face job might actually be at stake. And they don't want you to actually say that. They're probably sitting in the ear screaming at it. Oh, no. Cut them off. Hurry up.
No,
And
I got to tell you, though, but you make an interesting point, because you're saying that asking is action. No, asking is aspirational. Asking is not action. It's core free speech. The press should be defending free speech in this case.
Let's talk about
because free
something else
speech
that
is the
you've
most
repeatedly
protected
said.
speech.
Because free speech is the most protected speech. And that's exactly what it is. That's exactly what it is. And she doesn't want that to actually happen, because she knows if that happens, that's bad deal for him. It's a bad deal for him, and he doesn't want that. Or she doesn't want that. So she's going to continue to actually, cut him off over and over again. That was a nice little lengthy little jab at each other, whatever. She didn't allow him to say much. I think the one thing that she said in the whole thing that really seriously kind of made me say, yeah, right, is there's no evidence Joe Biden is involved in this. There's no evidence that Joe Biden is involved in this. Are you sure? Are you sure? Because it really seriously kind of seems like he does have something to do with it. He's very involved. It is his DOJ that is actually going after Trump. It is his, department that he actually, what the hell is the guy's name? I can't. It is his guy that has actually been going after Trump over and over again. Jack Smith. When it comes down to it, and you actually think about it, you can tell that she's getting very frustrated throughout the whole thing, and she knows damn well she's wrong. Look, I have a page of over a dozen things when there's probably about 30 of them on there that go against it, and they're not free speech. And then the one thing, she couldn't go grab a single one of those and actually grab one that actually showed action. She still could only find words, questions. And that's where he's like, that goes against free speech. He has the right to ask as many questions as he wants. Did he get what he wanted? No. Did that actually infringe on anything? No. Absolutely not. It goes against his free speech. He has the right to say anything he wants. Just like I have the right to say whatever I want, but for whatever reason, I still have to actually throw disclaimers out there for YouTube because I threw a couple disclaimers out there. Don't forget. If you haven't done so already, make yourself over to Rumble. Make sure that you subscribe over there because I'm not going to stop. I'm going to continue to do whatever it is that I do and bring you just this news and politics with some fun in between. Tell a presidential candidate to stop talking while campaigning. That seems completely logical. Yeah, right? It does seem completely logical, doesn't it? Oh, he needs to stop talking. He can't talk for the next year and a half about anything. And it's like, oh, wait a minute here. Wait a minute. You're going to tell him that he can't actually go out and campaign. He can't talk. What was he supposed to do? Do what Joe Biden did? Sit in the basement and actually give you absolutely nothing? I guess. Only if you say so. Gloves are off. Pro-Trump super PAC releases damning new ad on Biden family crime. Oh, I shared it wrong. Let's give you the actual.
Hey, Joe, how come your Justice Department goes after Trump endlessly, yet...
Are you ready?
a cover for your family? Hunter's laptop? Yeah, that was censored.
Oh, oops.
But we know that laptop's real.
Oh, Hunter Biden's laptop's real. 7/20/2023.
And it's not just filled with photos of Hunter's drug-fueled debauchery either. Nah, it showed Hunter pocketed millions from foreign partners.
Oh, really? Hunter Biden's hard drive shows he is a firm took about $11 million. 5/19/2022 says NBC News.
Cash from Ukrainian and Chinese.
Ukrainian firm accused of bribery. Chinese businessman now accused of fraud. 5/19/2022 says NBC News.
Interest accused of bribery and fraud. And remember when you...
Hunter Biden contradicts dad's claim nobody in family made money from China, says Fox News 7/27/2023.
Who claimed your family never made money from China? Well, Hunter admitted in court he took their cash. His China...
Oh, he admitted in court that he took their cash. Really? You don't say. I have to tell you, well, it's fresh in my mind. I went back and rewatched the live from yesterday, and I promise I never said I licked it. When you came in, I just said it's going to be a stiff one. Well, I believe you were talking about a puppy or something right around that time, and I think it wasn't that you did. I think it was something like the dog did or something. There's something. But I mean, if I would have picked up on the stiff one, I might have actually teased you about that as well. Good to see you, Clumsy. Never forget his laptop has lots of sketch photos, and some look like very young females who may or may not be minors. May or may not. Yep. Mm-hmm. So the interesting one, we're going to actually hit
Chinese business partner was tied to the Communist Party. How did
Hunter Biden's business partner's assistant visited White House over 80 times as of 4/11/2023, as they're talking about, communist leaders having something to do with it. I believe it's this. Let's get this particular. This one here. copy this. We'll go and post this up here real quick. So this here, this is a link. This is a link to Biden laptop report that MarcoPoloUSA.org that actually has all of this information. All of this information that goes on from bank records to laptop stuff, all the emails and pictures, Tony Bobulinski's stuff, Ashley Biden's diaries in there, and all these other personal, devastating documents and articles that go along with the stuff that has actually happened in and around Hunter Biden and the big guy, Joe Biden himself.
Hunter's partners get meetings at the White House. Your brother, grandkids, even nieces and nephews got paid from foreign deals. Your family and their cronies raked in over $17 million from these.
Really? Biden family Hunter associates raked in over $17 million from foreign sources. Just a little pocket cash. Nothing big.
And you, Joe, went from being one of the poorest in
Congress to a millionaire in some 50-ish years of actually being somebody that's in Congress. Isn't that something? Isn't that something fun? Go eat your ice cream, Joe Biden.
Congress to a millionaire in the White House. Come on, Joe. All this a coincidence or corruption? Make America Great Again Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertising.
Make America Great Inc. is responsible for the content of this advertisement. So I could have just read the thing out as opposed to actually playing the ad, but I think that it was funner to actually play the ad. I think it was funner to do that. But very interesting in itself on what that is actually about. Isn't that fun? Isn't that fun? Lieutenant Dan Ice Cream. Is ice cream a code word? They do say something to do with dementia in itself. When it comes down to it, really seriously is something that when you eat ice cream that could actually be beneficial. There's something to do with it. I really don't know all of the logistics on that in particular, but it's kind of an interesting ordeal with it, to actually think about. What am I doing? I got to do something here real quick. I'm looking at a wrong screen. I'm like, this looks different than normal. My studio's not open. Got to turn monetization on. The heck? Error messages are glitching everywhere on YouTube chats. If you're an error message, please refresh everything and fix it. If it fails, log out, log back in. I was actually having that issue last night in Clumsy's, where it looked like about 50 of my messages were just being skipped over. I'm like, why are you skipping all my messages? So I see this one. I go back to actually figure it out. I had to actually put in the sentence of pay your check pal, because check your PayPal was actually blocked from YouTube. The words PayPal in itself are words that they don't like and they will actually censor. So there's wording that can be censored without you even realizing that it's being censored, even if I have it completely and totally unlocked. It has happened. Yes, YouTube has been literally horrible. It's been trashed lately. And I believe that they're actually trying to actually suppress as much as they possibly can to get ready to go into this election season. I wouldn't doubt if a bunch of you would actually be like, how come all of our content creators like we like to watch the most just so happen to not be able to come around? Kept telling me I was a sad puppy. No, that was not what I was saying. You're always so giggly and happy. How could you be sad? All right, let's move on. Jamie Raskin says it's a great question how Biden and Trump are tied for 2024. Raskin said Sunday that it's a great question and how President Biden and former President Donald Trump are neck and neck with each other in the polls ahead of 2024 presidential election, despite Trump being indicted for the third time over the past week. Trump and Biden have tied in a general election face-off and polling data released over the past week, with both candidates receiving 43% support. On Thursday, Trump appeared in court after being indicted on 4 new charges related to the January 6th riot in 2021 and his alleged efforts to overturn 2020. We'll get a great, well, it's a great question, said Raskin. When asked about Trump and Biden being tied, I wish Lincoln were around to pose it to him because it's his political party that they dragged into the mud here. I mean, that was a pro-freedom, anti-slavery, anti-know-nothing, pro-immigration party, and now it's become a cult of authoritarian personality. And even the Republicans running against Trump dare not challenge the clear betrayals of his constitutional oath. But yet again, we got a couple of them like DeSantis and Ramaswamy that are actually against what you actually just said. And when you actually look at all of this, that that group that would just so happen to be formed by them anti-Republicans, that 3-letter group that starts with the letter K and ends with the letter K, just so happens to be, oh yeah, the anti-Republicans. But let's go ahead, let's point fingers at a group of people and lie to them vigorously to actually get them to actually start maybe believing our lies. Because if we repeat ourselves over and over again, eventually it makes it the truth. Wrong, Jamie Raskin. You're an ignorant asshole and you have no clue what the fuck you're even talking about. Raskin specifically discussed Trump's actions in between the 2020 presidential election and J6 Capitol protest, during which Trump knew exactly what he was doing. The Maryland Democrat stated that the former president had to have known that 60 federal and state courts rejected every argument about these particular fraud and corruption that the Trump administration brought toward following the 2020 election. You might believe that your bank owes you some money. You don't have the right to go and rob the bank. The 4 counts that Trump faces in his latest indictment include conspiracy, obstruction, and conspiracy. After pleading not guilty to his arraignment on Thursday, Trump described his indictment as persecution of a political opponent, and then went ahead and actually said that you come after me, I'm going to come after you. And he doesn't care. He doesn't care. You go ahead and do that and watch what happens. You open up the door to doing stupid, ridiculous things like going after your political opponents. Wait till it's your turn and somebody comes after you for the shit that you did. I like how you say opinion. Yes, opinion. It is totally your opinion when it comes down to it. It's really ridiculous to actually think about it. That old thing come out of my Minnesota thing. You know, that's what happens when you're from Minnesota. You have that tendency to emphasize the O. You get it, eh? This group of self-described socialists is growing in numbers and pushing local Democrats to the left. The Democratic Socialists of America is gaining steam in recent years and has been pushing the Democratic Party to the left, particularly in deep blue cities, advocating for policies that even moderate Democrats disagree with. Democratic Socialists make up the left flank of the Democratic Party, supporting abolishing prisons, aggressive climate policies, rent controls, and radical racial equity policies. According to the Democratic Socialist website, they've been aggressively adding to their membership over the past few years, as well as gaining ground in key deep blue cities such as New York City, Los Angeles, and Minneapolis, calling for radical policy changes and opposing mainstream Democrats. The meteoric rise of DSA came after the first presidential campaign by Democratic Socialists endorsed Democrat Bernie Sanders in 2016. According to New York Magazine, the DSA had 6,000 members in 2015, but now boasts about 80,000 members, according to the DSA communications director, Chris Katulik. Catherine Cawthorn, I guess that's what you want to call your name. Big cities in blue states are havens for Democratic Socialists, with a large number of them in city councils in deep blue cities. Recent gains in these cities and Democratic Socialists have pushed the politics of blue cities to the left. New York City is a hotbed for Democratic Socialists, with at least 6 of the 51 members in New York City's city council being Democratic Socialists. According to public statements and records reviewed by the Daily Caller News Foundation, they've attacked more moderate Democrats like Mayor Eric Adams, who has proposed budget cuts in the city, who has also criticized Democratic Socialists and been involved with Twitter feuds with Democratic Socialist New York Rep. Alexandria Ocasio-Cortez. New York City boasts Democratic Socialist and Democratic Councilman Osi, who has previously said a cis white man should not be the next speaker of the council. Don't trust white people with zero friends of color in their circle. Wow. That's fun that they actually say such a thing. So you can actually trust me, as I actually have multiple friends that do have any other color than what they call white. And it's very fun to actually have these friends that actually have the same feelings and opinions that I do. I like the movie Fargo for pronunciations, not so much the wood chipper. No, not the wood chipper. The wood chipper is not the best place. Osa has gone after Adams' support for the police, frequently chiding the mayor. Mayor Adams is choosing to invest in militarized police force rather than evidence-based public safety strategies. He wrote in one of his tweets, Osa said in the Resistance podcast that his motivations are becoming a city councilman, where his experiences at the George Floyd protest and his desire to fight white supremacy. Let's fight white supremacy, because that's the thing that's the biggest thing out there that we need to worry about. Not anything else. We should just always look at it as that's the reason for it. Democratic Socialist and Democratic New York City Councilwoman Tiffany Cabin opposed Adams' 2023 budget, calling the proposed cuts dangerous and cruel in opposition to more moderate Democrats. Los Angeles has at least 3 Democratic Socialists of the 15 members of the Los Angeles City Council, where Democratic Socialists regularly depart from the orthodoxy. Many of them vote against budget increases for police departments, such as Democratic Los Angeles Councilman Hugo Soto Martinez And Democratic Los Angeles Councilwoman Eunice Hernandez has called for abolishing the police, shutting down prisons, and decriminalizing hard drugs, according to Los Angeles Times. Meanwhile, police data showed robberies, burglaries, and thefts increasing in Los Angeles. The Los Angeles Police Department has lost nearly 1,000 officers since 2019, according to LA Times. Soto Martinez and Martinez stood by the co-founder of Black Lives Matter, Patrisse Cullors, in a press conference where she called the LAPD to stop responding to minor traffic violations. According to Los Angeles Daily News, Soto Martinez also called it a terrible mistake when one of his staffers called the police asking them to patrol the area more than usual to protect his broken down Lexus. For all of the working class to achieve collective liberation, we must constrain, diminish, and abolish the I can't even say the word, forces of the state from prisons and police themselves. Minnesota is also a hotbed for Democratic Socialists, with 4 groups members holding local offices there and 3 members of the Minneapolis City Council, according to public statements and records reviewed by the Daily Caller News Foundation. Members of the Twin Cities DSA, which includes the cities of Minneapolis and St. Paul, have pushed hard for rent control despite Democratic Minneapolis Mayor Jacob Fry opposing the policy, saying, "I do not support a policy that has consistently proven to be counterproductive to housing supply and affordability." But yet everything costs so much, and how is the owner of the property is supposed to actually keep the property in good functioning order if they're not able to raise the rent to actually do such a thing? The DSA also boasts 5 federally elected officials who identify as Democratic Socialists. In the U.S. House of Representatives, Ocasio-Cortez, Minnesota Rep. Rashida Tlaib, Missouri Rep. Cory Bush, and New York Rep. Jamal Bowman, as well as Texas Rep. Greg Kasar. Positive views of socialism are down in the U.S. despite the DSA's recent rise in membership, with 36% of Americans saying they view socialism somewhat as a very positively, down from 42% in May of 2019. Adams, Osei, Cabin, Hernandez, and Martinez did not immediately respond to requests for comment. Of course they didn't. They don't want you to know about all of the shit that they actually go through. They want you to actually go ahead and believe that socialism is a good thing. Socialism is a good thing, and we should actually go ahead and push for that to be something, when it's really not a good thing for them to actually go ahead and try pushing these rights, because now you're just super, super close to being right next to communism when it comes down to it. That's the next step. If you really like communism and you think that's a good deal, go ahead. Vote socialist with all these jackholes. Everybody needs to start paying attention to their local governments. As you see, they pointed out several different local governments that all these people are part of. These people aren't necessarily part of the bigger good, the federals. These are all your city people that are sitting on city councils that actually push laws for your own cities. If you're actually concerned about your own city, maybe you should actually think of actually watching who these people are and what they're about, and not voting down ballot. As some of them decided to change party afterwards. So you might want to actually do your homework and what they're actually about. And you'll find out that there's socialists that are trying to infiltrate at the local level, because they know exactly what I'm trying to tell you now. And they're going to continue to do just that. Who wants to be raising rent when you could be raising the roof? Whoop, whoop. Yes. Raise the roof. Shiloh, man, good to see you, dear. Member of the Frog Army. Yes, she is. Yes, she is. If you're not a member of that Frog Army, if you're not already a member of that, you might want to actually turn on at least gift options if you haven't done so already, because tomorrow, Good Logic will be right here with me at 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time. Yes, it's a little early, but it's early enough for both of us to hold the conversation before we go into our own shows. Make sure that you're available for such a thing. And, up that membership if you haven't done so already. Well, then got to page 25 of 112 and already on how Joe showered with his daughter, Ashley. Oh, did you grab that link that I threw at you through the the Biden laptop report marcopolousa.org? Did you grab that? Go take a look through that and actually come through some of the interesting shit that they actually go and can prove actually happened because it's legitimately there. Kind of gross, isn't it? Yes. Koolfrogg and attorney Good Logic Joe Neerman will be live together at 8 p.m. Eastern Time. Yes, right here on this channel. Members only. Members only. So if you haven't picked up a membership, you might want to actually do such a thing. I see there's a lot of you actually do have memberships. If you want somebody else to actually show up, gifting those memberships is always an option as well for those that are less fortunate than yourself. It is a thing. Before, when I went to the site, my hobby was like scrub your hard drive because the Hunter Biden laptop picks. I mean, you don't necessarily need to scrub your hard drive. That's not something that's absolutely necessary. I get where your husband would be potentially concerned, but nah, you'll be okay. You'll be okay. There's a lot of people that have used Biden laptop report marcopolousa.org, and it's not installed onto your PC. It's on the internet, unless you actually went and downloaded it to your PC. I wouldn't suggest doing that, but I wouldn't worry about wiping your hard drive. Democrats worry young people souring on party, like we just kind of went through with those socialists or whatever that are actually pushing their will. Says Democrats are calling for 2024 candidates to re-engage with young voters amid signs of critical voting bloc, maybe distancing from the party. Recent polling has found that number of young people who identify as Democrats is on the slight decline, while President Biden has been wavering support from the demographic that played a pivotal role in his victory over former President Trump in 2020, adding that the concerns is of recent analysis in John Della Volpe, the polling director of Harvard Kennedy Institute in Politics, who pointed to possible struggles the party faces with voters between ages 18 and 29. Nearly every sign that made me confident in historic levels of youth participation in 2018, 2020, and 2022 is now flashing red. Della Volpe wrote an analysis in 2024, adding, the ground is more fertile for voting than youth believe. Voting takes a tangible difference. Cheyenne Hunt, a 25-year-old Democrat and TikTok influencer who's running to be the first female Gen Z member of Congress, cautioned that Democrats shouldn't take her peers for granted. I would not take the peers for granted either. What's up, Jessica Reloaded? Good to see you. Good to see you. Glad you're here. Hit that like button for me. That'd be awesome. There's less of a sense of loyalty to a particular party. I think the more of a sense of really taking a look at the system and feeling left behind and forgotten. young people engage with passionate candidates who are going to jump in there and do the dirty work to advocate for our best interests. Gen Z especially has felt let down by the political system, leading both to more political mobilization and less affiliation with established parties. And the demographic needs to be met where they are. We are one of the most politically mobilized generations in American history, judging by the turnout numbers after the last midterm. And we're in place now where you have to constantly engage us. And I understand why. You look at the system and the status quo, and a lot of younger folks feel really betrayed, as they should, when it comes down to it, for them to actually think that they're not being betrayed by the country that they may potentially love oh so much, has actually turned against them and actually thinks that they have their democratic values in line, when actually they keep on, like that last article said, moving further for the socialists, where there's a lot of kids that actually understand that they don't really want the socialism, and they may actually find themselves, Gen Zers, actually going ahead and voting to the other side of that line and actually going and voting for the moderate Republican, which will screw them Democrats out of what they're actually looking for. Oh, for fuck's sake, Koolfrogg, how can Biden's deny this? Her name is written in. Yeah, see, I threw that link at you, at all of you, and Ellie's actually gone to the point of actually digging into it. And when you actually dig into it that far to actually see what is actually happening, what is going on, you really seriously just be like, really? You're going to deny this? It's physically written right here. So sad they sold their futures. Mm-hmm. The candidate in California 45th district said that with her 2024 campaign's approach to young voters, we're not playing the game like this is business as usual. In 2019, 39% of the respondents in Harvard Youth poll reported identifying as Democrat, and figure fell slightly to 35% this spring. The share of youth voters identify in the independents are unaffiliated with the major party, on the other hand, climbed from 36% in 2019 to 40% this year. The share of youth voters identifying as Republican saw a statistically insignificant shift from 23% to 24%. Della Volpe argued that although young voters appear to be getting more progressive in their values, fewer are identifying as Democrat or even liberal. They're paying close attention to political news and likely to believe in politics as a means of system change. The share of younger voters who say they definitely vote in the 2024 race is now at 51% of the Harvard poll, down from 55% who said that same point in 2020 race. Volpe wrote, "Daylight's burning for Democrats who need young voters to win today and grow an electoral edge in the years ahead." Signs that younger voters are skeptical in the party establishment have been cropping up for years. For us to actually think that this isn't something to actually pay attention to, you can see this is a very lengthy article. I'm not going to finish it. It's a very lengthy article. I think we kind of get the gist of it when it actually comes down to it. Gen Zers are waking up. They're actually waking up to the situation. They're actually moving themselves into different realms, and they're actually taking themselves to the point of actually believing that this Democratic Party that is actually here is actually just that, full of shit. People don't know if they want to hit the like button or not. It fluctuates, goes up, goes down, goes back up, comes back down. You don't have to if you don't want to, but hitting that like button does help it through the algorithm just a little bit. Far left group behind the squad lays off half of its staff. But the economy is all so good. Bidenomics works. Gen X to Gen Z, it's about time. Right, exactly. It was just that one that was in between. It was like Gen Y. We don't know. We have no clue why. Yep. Thank you for liking the stream, subscribing to Koolfrogg. Now, again, don't forget tomorrow, 6 o'clock, I got Good Logic, aka Joe Neerman, right here with me, and a members only stream. Make sure you re-up your memberships to actually be available for that. Democrats keep claiming that the economy is doing great under Biden. But if that's true, why is the far left Justice Democrats group laying off half of its staff? This is a group responsible for bringing us wonderful members in Congress like AOC, Rashida Tlaib, and Ilhan Omar. Their cash crunch isn't a mystery. People don't usually make political donations when they're worried about basic things like food. I wonder why. A prominent left-wing organization laid off half of its staff last month in a further sign that Democratic groups are struggling to stay afloat. Justice Democrats, a progressive group founded in 2017 following the failed presidential run for Socialist Vermont Senator Bernie Sanders, in mid-July let go 9 of its 20 staffers. The group works to help elect far-left candidates and are largely credited for helping create the squad of House lawmakers that include AOC and Ilhan Omar. It is no secret that Democratic and progressive organizations like us are in difficult fundraising environment right now. We had to make tough decisions to remain one of the most impactful progressive organizations in the country for years to come. Progressives are worried about the state of the movement in light of fundraising and growth struggles. We have huge champions like Bernie Sanders, AOC, and Ilhan Omar who are able to be successful political fundraisers, a progressive House aide told Huffington Post. But movement-wise, we're not in a great place right now. Take away their funding, take away their monies, and guess what happens to those particular groups? Oh, they cease to exist. And it was just kind of similar to when you actually pay attention, sounds something similar to what we hear happening to the likeness of Donald Trump. If we can actually sink him, we can take away all this money. Nothing good will come of it. The Justice Democrats are not the only ones in the left feeling economic pain. Whistling past the graveyard, Dem fear grows over massive grassroots fundraising hit. One of the best online fundraising days for the Democrats this year was the day that Joe Biden's campaign launched. But even that day's haul was meager compared to his campaign kickoff 4 years ago. That's among the findings of the analysis of fundraising for the first half of the year, though Act Blue, the party's primary donation processor, kind of has a couple of affiliations with a couple other things like BLM and some others. If you really feel that you're a Democrat, that's where you go. Is you actually go find something that's tied to Act Blue. Small dollar giving at the federal level totaled $312 million for the first half of 2023, a drop off from more than $30 million compared to the point in 2020. The platform also had 32% fewer donors in the second quarter of the year compared to 4 years ago. Although its total fundraising increased slightly due to several factors, including more recurring donors and greater giving to non-federal groups. Democrats are becoming victims of Biden's economic policies. What a shame. Oh, shame on you, Joe Biden. You just took out your own people in the process of trying to take out others as well. Way to go. Keep doing what you're doing, and let's see how far you get, idiot. Representative Dean Phillips, guy out of Minnesota, undecided about running against Biden in Democratic primary, probably because you're going to lose your ass as you have the exact same thoughts and opinions as he does. Dean Phillips said Sunday he remains undecided whether he will challenge President Biden for the 24 Democratic primary. Phillips told CBS Major Garrett and Face the Nation that he is not decided yet about running against Biden, but noted that the Democratic voters want a competitive primary for next year. A well-placed Minnesota Democrat confirmed the Hill last month that Phillips will be mounting a 2024 primary challenge to the president, but they want not a coronation, but they want competition. He also called on more people to enter the Democratic primary, saying that the country needs more competition. While he did not say whether he would run, he said that he is not well positioned to run for the White House. Of course you're not. You're in the state of Minnesota with your ignorance, and you think you pretty much go ahead with another Walter Mondale type person that's super left Democratic bullshit that you're going to try pushing when you're actually just as much socialist as Joe Biden himself. If you don't heed that call, shame on us, and the consequences, I believe, are going to be disastrous. So my call is to those who are well positioned, well prepared, good character of competency, that know who they are, to jump in, because Democrats and the country need competition. It makes everything better. I do not believe I'm well positioned to run for it right now. People who should jump in, because we need to meet the moment. The moment is now. That is what the country is asking. So then why the fuck are you so scared to actually go ahead and actually go up against them? Go up against them. See what happens to you. Are you afraid? You're afraid to do it, and you're going to wait 4 years and try running for 2028, because that might just be better off for you to not have to actually try primarying somebody like Joe Biden. It's hard to primary somebody that's that deeply corrupt. Okay. I put this here to actually give us a good laugh. Let's reshare the screen. Figured we needed a good laugh after all that. Kamala's latest giveaway is like trusting Bernie Madoff with taxpayer dollars. It doesn't make sense. Sorry, Div, if you're listening. Oh, they took it? Where'd it go? There's a video. Never mind. Kamala Harris is widely incompetent. She gets basic facts wrong. She can barely string two sentences together, and she never fails at putting the rose-colored glasses, putting personal ideological considerations about common sense and reason. So it shouldn't surprise anyone that this socialist now wants the federal government over $30 trillion in debt to increase its lending outlays in near infinity, beyond what even traditional leaders are comfortable giving, even if it means expanding taxpayer fraud in tunes of millions and even billions of dollars. Harris, second or first in command, and the money grows on trees. Harris Biden administration is pushing for financial technology firms, fintechs, to be allowed to lend more to small businesses. She says the Small Business Administration, working more closely than with them, will enable minority businesses to receive more capital, helping it reduce income inequality and other racial inequalities. The problem, aside from the fact that her plan to spend more money and the government doesn't have, fintechs are companies responsible for the vast majority of the estimated $80 billion of fraud that transpired in the $800 billion Paycheck Protection Program. Even an investigation report published by James Clyburn, of all people, a strong Kamala Harris ally, came up with this conclusion, stating that the fraud permitted by fintechs Blue Acorn and Womply, which are involved in nearly 1 in 3 PPP loans, are obvious and preventable. Recent reports show these fintechs went so far as to approve PPP loan applications that utilize headshots of Barbie dolls to verify borrowers that didn't appear to care about protecting us or our interests. They only seem interested in making quick profits from themselves. They knew full well that the government would pay them for how many loans they would write and approve, not how well they vetted the loan applications. Yet Kamala doesn't seem to care. She wants more government loans and spending to advance her ideological interests, and she wants it now, irrespective of how obviously dire the consequences of doing so will be, and even if it means getting in bed with companies that SBA has suspended and is investigating. This is equivalent to giving taxpayer money straight to Bernie Madoff because of assurance of unheard and deal terms. It's laughable and doesn't make any sense. Then again, what from Harris Biden administration does make sense? This is an administration that claims to have cured cancer. It's a White House that thinks gas stoves are the devil, one that has promised to jail fossil fuel executives and no apparent reason. See, it's not as funny without her actually reading out what she was saying. They've ruined my laughable moment. They ruined my laughable moment. Very upsetting. It's very upsetting to actually see them actually ruin my moment. This is just as hilarious.
And as the name suggests, community banks are in the community. They understand the needs of the people they serve. They understand the capacity and the opportunity, such as the capacity and the opportunity of this community, that big banks often overlook or just don't get.
Can I get a translator, please? I'm confused. What did she just say to me? Community banks are in the community.
And as the name suggests, community banks are in the community.
The community banks are in the community. Don't worry about the big banks and how shitty they're doing. The ones that actually fund the community banks, don't worry about them. Just worry about the community ones, because it doesn't. Thanks for the word salad, Kamala Harris. That was great. I so love it when you actually throw word salad at us. It makes absolutely no sense. But hey, okay. She wants big bangs, a new haircut. Oh, is that what she was saying? Out of their circle time. Peaches heels up Harris. Yes, switch to live chat. Don't be a cock. It happens. It happens. You should always watch for that to actually be a thing. Whoever wrote this needs a Pulitzer. What, her? She's horrible. She's just horrible. What? 20 likes, 12 watching. Hit that like button, share it out. Do all those wonderful things. we're going to actually move on just a little bit. That was supposed to be a little something to actually cleanse our palate of the ignorance of these corrupt people. We got one more palate cleanser. One more. Something that you might all enjoy. I hope you do. There he is. What's up, the Michael Malloy Show? How you doing? Good to see you, brother. Called him out yesterday. Said he never shows up in my chat anymore. So I watch you. I'm like, well, that doesn't make a difference. We need your chat. New York Times asked people to compare Biden to an animal, and the results were brutally honest. The New York Times asked readers to do just that. The results were pretty given. The people answered weren't pretty, given the people answering the questions didn't hold back on their honest thoughts of the 80-year-old president. Dinosaur, hippopotamus, sloth. Those are just a few of the answers given in describing the president who forgets where he is more than he remembers. The Democrats expressed these about Biden. A camel, the way he talks, I see the camel's mouth moving. A meerkat, anytime it's nice out, his head's up, and then as soon as something goes wrong, he's just gone again. Another said Biden resembles a turtle, presumably because a reptile lives forever, but moves extremely slow without having much stamina to keep up with life. A hippopotamus, a lot of them are very violent, and a lot of them are very dangerous. They have old ways of doing things that may not always be the best course of action, like how Biden is, and they can't get dangerous if they deem it necessary. Another New York Times free to compare Biden to a snail, while another said goldfish, just because he doesn't seem to have an attention span to focus on anything. They don't like him themselves. They've actually gone ahead and they've actually gone against him and actually decided to not like him, period, and moved on from his idiocy. They're done with him. They don't like him no more. One of those headlines that's up there, we went through a couple of them. But this one in particular, this one's very, very disturbing. It's something that we should all actually really think about and be concerned with, on why Gavin Newsom would actually sign such a controversial bill. Governor Newsom, signs controversial bill into law reducing penalties for relations with minors. You're just as disgusting as the people that have relations with these minors. Get up against the wall, Gavin Newsom. California's Governor Gavin Newsom has signed a controversial new law regarding judges' discretion on whether or not to add individuals to the state's offender registry who have committed sodomy with minors. Newsom signed the bill, passed by the Democratic-controlled state legislature, into law without comment on Friday, expanding the discretion granted to the judges' statutory groping. California law permitted judges to decide whether to place a man on the offender's registry if he had consensual with someone 14 to 17 years old and who's not more than 10 years older than the other person. However, the discretion only applied to vaginal, which LGBT advocates, including the author of the new bill, signed into law on Friday, argued the discriminatory toward gay men. This eliminates discrimination against LGBTQ youth in our criminal justice system. That doesn't exist. That shouldn't exist. This right here, LGBTQ youth, should never be a thing. Stop pushing it on our children. Disgusting. SB 145 ends discrimination against LGBTQ young people on the offender registry. Currently, those youth are forced into a registry for consensual, even if the judge doesn't think it is appropriate. In situations where straight youth are not, Wiener added to social media, this discrimination destroys lives. Does it though? Does it though? Many have criticized the bill, arguing that that between a teenager and someone 10 years older is never consensual and should always warrant being placed on an offender's registry. I cannot, in my mind, as a mother, understand how between a 24-year-old and a 14-year-old could ever be consensual. How it could ever not be a registrable offense. Gavin Newsom doesn't see it that way, and he just seems to be okay with it, and let's go ahead and just move that on. So disgusting. We should never give up on the idea that children should be on the ways, in no way subject to a predator. Several Twitter accounts belonging to conservative politicians and personalities tweeted out criticism on Newsom following his decision to sign the bill into law. As a parent, I'm appalled. Last night, our governor signed into law maintaining that a 24-year-old can have consensual with a 14-year-old and not be considered predatory. An adult who commits any of these minors 10 years younger must be registered as an offender. Law must be changed. How disgusting is Gavin Newsom? Anybody that's living in, I know there's several of you that I love so much that live in California. If you're in California, get out, get out, get out. They're saying it's okay for somebody to do such a thing with your children without ramifications. Without ramifications. It's just okay. It's just okay. It's not okay. Malloy, what in the world? Clumsy, get out of California, move to Utah. I mean, if you want to be hanging around with a bunch of Mormons, you might want to move up to Utah. The Terminator needs to terminate Gavin. Yes, he totally does. I can't do that voice. I wish I could. So kind of something a little different, just World Economic Forum-ish, EU backs Bill Gates' plan to fight global warming by blocking the sun. Bill Gates has actually been trying to go after this for some time. This isn't something new. And now they're actually trying to say that EU will go ahead and back his ignorance of trying to block the sun to actually knock down on the carbon that is in our atmosphere. Not going to read the article. I don't think it's necessary. I think everybody kind of understands that, this is not a good thing to block the sun. Stop thinking blocking the sun is actually going to be a good deal for anybody or anything. You can see the cheesy grin on his face. That's how he feels about everything that he's done. All the little things that he's actually produced for several different countries, like that one that he actually produced for India way back when, and he actually neutralized and a whole population in a city with one particular inoculation to actually go ahead and turn all of the females infertile. He thinks it's okay. He's okay with that. WF partner pushing to end private car ownership to fight global boiling, doesn't want you to own private cars. The World Economic Forum's green agenda has become increasingly prominent in recent years. An unelected globalist organization aggressively pushing to usher in the Great Reset. Other global bureaucratic agencies are also ramping up efforts to force governments and sovereign nations to comply with the WEF's climate goals. Unslay News recently reported Antonio Gutierrez, the Director General of United Nations, declared the fear-mongering speech last month that the public must submit to a green agenda because global boiling has arrived. The WF infamously coined the phrase, "You will own nothing and be happy." It's the bugs. Eats the bugs, because it's okay. It's okay. That's all you need to know is to eat the bugs, and you own nothing. You'll be happy. You'll be okay. 2019 WF partner Arab Group released a report pontificating private car ownership needs to end. Removing private car ownership in itself is not going to actually fix anything. You don't really have 15-minute cities like they used to. There are a lot of those small mom and pop stores that we all grew up with that were, sporadically spread out through the neighborhoods to actually go ahead and feed all of us, were actually absolved and turned into a single entity in the middle of town that we all drive to, as opposed to being able to walk down the street to grab those things that we need all so much, like a dozen eggs or a gallon of milk, or go to the meat market, to go to those places are the places that I loved and enjoyed so much when I was a kid. It's where I got all my baseball cards. Was all those mom and pop shops. Those are the best places to actually go to get anything. Their meats were usually very tasty, very good stuff. And for us to actually think that it's okay to actually not need private car ownership with these cities the way they're built nowadays is ridiculous to even think. It's going to actually change a lot when it comes down to it. And, you don't need a private car. It's okay. You don't need one. Walk. Take a bike. Okay. Thank you, World Economic Forum, for making that decision for us so late into the future. New data shows hot weather devastates performance of electric vehicles. They're taking away private ownership anyway. It doesn't matter. It doesn't matter. It really doesn't matter that performance of a vehicle in hot temperatures have the tendency to not operate this as well as those that would actually run off of gas. I'm so glad that we're actually moving to this point of actually needing and trying to get everybody to actually use EVs, because electronic vehicles in themselves are just the bee's knees according to what they're saying. But then again, also now they find out that they don't work so well when it's hot outside. Good thing global boiling is happening at the same time. So intelligent of them to actually go to this point of actually doing such a thing. How fucking dumb are we? How dumb are we? Are we going to seriously sit here and allow this to continuously happen? Just a little bit of news before we move on. I guess this was a little further than I thought it was. This should have been a little bit ago. Cops busted trying to hide evidence in Obama's chef's drowning. Really? Almost 2 weeks ago, Barack Obama's personal chef, Tafari Campbell, allegedly drowned while paddleboarding in Martha's Vineyard next to Obama's mansion. The death is officially an accident, but many questions remain as to how Campbell, 45, met his death next to Obama Villa. We still don't know who the paddleboarding with Campbell just that she was a female companion. Police in Massachusetts are now saying that they can't release any more information on the case because of the public records law. Because officially in accident, the police are legally allowed to not get into any details that they've discovered about the accident and numerous questions. These include how the emergency call only came from 2 kilometers away, while the identity of the paddleboarder isn't being released, and why the Obamas lied about being at Martha's Vineyard at the time. Now we find out that the state police have lost Campbell's blood sample for an accurate toxicology report. What in the world is going on here? Oh, oops. Oops. We lost it. Oops. Massachusetts First Amendment Associate Group leader Justin Silverman says that the police are misusing the regulations to not open up any more about what happened. Under the law, the police have to show why the investigation into the accident might be harmed by releasing details. Copy-paste rejections to requests for information are also being given to other agencies and police to ensure no journalistic requests find out more about what happened. Nope, don't want to know. They're not going to tell us. They just kind of lost a blood sample, and it's not a big deal. We don't need to actually release any of this information to you. There's still so many questions about exactly what happened in the tragic death of Campbell. Was it purely an accident? If so, why didn't it get him help any sooner? His wife and 2 fatherless kids deserve answers. The supposedly heartbroken Obamas are not helping us get answers about the Campbell. What Campbell was doing there at the time. Some reports are saying he lived in Virginia and was no longer their personal chef at the time of being on Martha's Vineyard. The article appeared at the Statesman Post and has been published here with permission. Isn't that something interesting? Nothing to see. Nothing to see here. Just lost blood samples. Oh well. Oh well. No further investigation needed. We'll just assume. We'll just all assume. July 2023 marked 48 straight months of record gun sales in the U.S. Really? I wonder why so many people are purchasing up as many guns as they possibly can as more gun laws and red tape laws become a thing. Gun sales do not seem to be affected by the Biden economy and inflation to come with it. July of this year marked 48 straight months of record gun sales. People are obviously concerned about crime. Wrong. But one of the other things driving this in constant threat is the greater gun control from Democrats. Yeah, that's the one. People used to call Obama the world's greatest gun salesman, but this trend has continued even with him out of office. Let's see, when adjusted just to likely sales of firearms, it was about over 1.25 million. Over 1.25 million guns were sold per month. Where was that total here? No pause in gun sales record 48 million over 4 years. It's 1 million guns, over 1 million guns per month for the last 4 years. Ridiculous. And this is why this government sucks balls, and we need to actually reinstall somebody that's a little bit more inept, that we won't be so afraid that the government's going to come after our guns, and we're going to have to actually defend ourselves to keep them from actually taking away our guns. America. Yes, Ellie. Yes. Martha's Vineyard is a tiny island that should be an easy investigation. I think it's because of the people that actually live there. That's the reason that they can't investigate, is because they're being paid off to not investigate. kind of move on just a little bit. Another sport just banned transgender athletes in women's competitions. This week's British rowing banned biological male transgender athletes from competing in women's races, but created category that would still allow them to compete. You go compete against yourselves, have fun. You have no competition, because I doubt there's that many people that would actually have their own boats that are actually transgendered and want to actually compete in their own little thing. That's not what they want. They want to actually compete against the women because they know that they can beat them. That's what they want. They don't want to be the 210th place. They want to be in first place. If they can go and they can change their gender and to do just that, they will. Come on. Journalism Proof urges parents to expose their children to pictures of naked adults and prep them for seeing naked trans people in bathrooms. What? Really? Journalism is trying to do this? The assistant professor at the University of British Columbia, Vancouver, has faced backlash in suggesting that parents should expose their children to adults' genitalia. Cat You Time, who teaches a number of courses in writing department, shared what she referred to as one of her all-time excellent parenting ideas in a thread responding to testimony by women's sports advocate Riley Gaines. In the clip, Gaines described what it's like to have to compete against biological males and expressed her frustration over having to see naked men in a women's locker room without her consent. The original tweet was sent out on July 10th, and while Tame has since locked her account, screenshots have immortalized her words for all of us to see. Hey, want to know one of my all-time excellent parenting ideas? Let little children see penises and vulvas in various ages and sizes in a casual, normalized, totally safe way, with periods after each and every single word, so that we can actually try driving a point on how disgusted we really are. What in the goddamn hell is going on in this world? How disturbed is everybody right now? It's so gross. You got politicians saying to do it, and then you got R&B performers like Neil saying, hey, wait a minute. Life-changing gender decisions have forgotten their roles. Let minors make them. It's seriously, who's letting minors do this? Are parents not paying attention to their children any longer? Oh, wait, there's states like California that are against them actually knowing such a thing and sharing such a thing with each other. It's gotten to the point of being disgusting. Grammy Award-winning R&B artist Neo has strong words for parents who allow their young children to make life-changing decisions about gender. The father of 7 spoke with Gloria Velez and Vlad TV, suggesting that parents that allow their minor children to receive puberty blockers and hormone treatments have forgotten their role as a parent. The artist shared parents have almost forgotten what their role as a parent is. It's like, okay, if your little boy comes to you and says, Daddy, I want to be a girl, do you just let them rock with that, and you just like he's 5. He's 5. That'd be like me saying to my 3-year-old when he's running around that, when he says that he's a puppy, or that it's okay that I should dress him like a puppy. No, he's acting. He's having fun. I'm not going to go and say, oh, let's take you to the doctor and let's get you a change to make you look like a puppy. Nope, not going to happen. Parents have lost their goddamn minds. And people like Neo somebody that might actually have a little bit more of an audience can actually push these thoughts to let people know, hey, what in the fucking hell are you doing? We're going to get into the news. Now we're going to get into the news. Anybody that's watched this channel and is paying attention to this channel, we kind of get, when we get into the news, we get into some disturbing instances. Those that are, faint at heart or don't like certain, types of subjects may actually want to actually turn away. You can still leave it on, leave it play. Go ahead and maybe mute it if you are faint at heart when it comes to certain particular topics. Bernalillo, this isn't so bad. It's the ones that come after this. Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue, along with Albuquerque Fire Department, is actively battling a 2-alarm fire and recycling facility, as reported by spokesperson of Bernalillo County Fire and Rescue. The fires erupted at the 5,300 block of Hawking Drive, originated from burning plastic on the exterior of the building within the facility. This precautionary measure evacuations are currently underway in the area. Authorities have expressed concern about potential hazardous materials present at the site. They anticipate the situation to deteriorate further, with fire expected to persist for considerable duration. The firefighting team is diligently working to contain the blaze and manage the potential hazards at this location. And you can see there's a couple of videos to go along with it, just to kind of show you the flames. A very large disaster in Albuquerque that's actually gone ahead and it's burning plastic, so it's dumping all this chemical into the air. No, it's not, Clumsy. It's not. She says, wait, excuse me, my ignorance at the topic, but isn't it against the law to have gender surgery until you're 18? Nope, it's not. There's so many states. California is one of them that's done the major part of that and actually gone to the point of actually saying that it's okay for children to actually do this at young ages. And go ahead and have the massive mastectomies, have their junk taken off, because they don't want them to actually they don't want them to procreate. They're actually pushing this ideology on purpose to actually remove population. It's an easy way to actually remove the population when somebody's mentally inept of actually thinking that they're actually a boy or a girl, and when they're the opposite, then they want to be something. Parents can't actually stop them from actually doing what they want. And that's why we see so many schools over and over again pushing for just that. It's gross and disgusting to actually see. It really is. It's very horrible. It's very horrible. Where's everybody going? Do I have competition? Is there somebody that's doing something better than I am? Everybody just us, like slowly leaving. They're like, oh, Good Logic's doing something. What is he doing? Weekend wrap up. Same thing I'm doing. Suspect used forklift to steal an ATM machine from a California credit union. Just go ahead. Oh, tip it over with the forklift. Gonna go around and try picking it up and putting it in the pickup truck, and it just kind of destroy this property because, oh well, it's okay. It's okay. It's okay. Here we'll actually play the video as opposed to just a clip. You're not going to hear anything because there's no volume anyway. There's no volume anyway, so it doesn't matter. But you can see, guy comes through with this big forklift, and he's like, "Oh, let's take it out." Backs up, takes a running start at it. It goes and smashes it over, and then tries to go around and actually pick it up. Come on, let's go. There he is. Tips it over. I mean, I guess that's a way to actually knock over an ATM. You just go grab the forklift. Good thing he's wearing his blaze orange as he's actually operating the forklift, so we know that he's actually being safe and actually doing what it is that he's doing. So proud of this man to actually take safety precautions in the process of doing such a thing. As everybody knows, we usually kind of speed up through some of these later subjects. Greyhound bus accident leaves more than a dozen injured. More than a dozen people sustained injuries. Incidents involving Greyhound bus in Georgia. It actually crashed off the road into the ditch, causing many injuries in and around this particular incident. Emergency services said 13 people were taken for treatment while the other passengers were driven away in a school bus to another location. It's Greyhound bus. It was actually doing traveling, whatever, taking people somewhere, and it actually collided off the road. You too. So funny. Train accident, dozens die in train crash. It's actually up to a number of killing 30 people, injuring somewhere around 90. This is in Pakistan. 10 carriages. Train derailed. Some overturned near Pakistani town of Nawawash in Sunday, trapping many passengers. A senior railway official said, "It's very disturbing. It's sad to actually believe that this isn't something that's just happening in the States to actually have trains actually derail. This is a worldwide issue." And this isn't the first one that's actually come out of this particular region in the last few months. This is yet another one that actually happened today. Kind of sad, scary, disturbing to actually believe. I suppose it's yesterday for them. NASCAR's Noah Gragson suspended after reportedly liking George Floyd meme. They originally gave him suspension for a few races. They've now actually gone to the point of actually indefinitely suspended him. He's actually no longer ever going to ever be able to race a car again because he liked a meme of George Floyd. Now, I seen the meme that he actually liked. I seen the meme. It was of a crab, and it actually said under the knee. So it's like, kind of like under the sea, but used under the knee as opposed to actually saying under the sea, which is in itself is disturbing. It really is. For this guy to actually lose his job over liking a meme is ridiculous. I don't think they're accidents either, Ellie. I'm with you on that one. I'm with you. Okay, a few things. This one was actually brought to me by the likeness of Vicky T. Did you see the Musk tweet about if people were fired? Yes, that is the very last thing I'll actually read, because that was actually supposed to be the thing to actually keep us sane for the night, as opposed to listening to all this weird, strange stuff that we're going to get into here. A couple from suburban Kansas City is under arrest for lengthy drug investigation in the Lake Ozarks region, central Missouri. News.com learned details of the news release of Miller County Sheriff's Office. Says Jonathan and Sherry Hennick of Independence were arrested Wednesday, August 2nd. Approximately 146 grams of cocaine, 60 grams of methamphetamine, approximately 3.8 pounds of marijuana, psilocybin, mushrooms or shrooms, 4 pistols, an unregistered firearm suppressor. Okay, just a few things. Nothing big. Glad they weren't actually causing harm to anybody. Holy crap. 2 campers and 2 vehicles also were confiscated. They reportedly kept the pot. They reportedly kept the pot and cocaine in a black bag in the living room in one camper. In one camper, Jonathan, 44, was most troubled. He faces 19 federal counts, including drug trafficking, unlawful possession of firearm, along with misdemeanor count involving drug paraphernalia. His wife, 43, was held in 2 felony drug counts. The husband's bond is at $450,000. Hers is only at $25,000. The case is a prime example of all drug information is taken seriously, and although it may not appear as so at first, we will do our due diligence to investigate them in the fullest extent. Okay. Just a few things that they had with them. 146 grams of cocaine. Wow. Thank you, Vicky. Oh, this one had a video. This one has a video. Now, we can't watch the whole video, but we can watch some of the video. We can watch some of the video. And the reason that we can't watch the whole thing is because I believe what he's actually swinging and doing to this guy might just be enough for YouTube to not actually like it. So as soon as he actually leaves the screen is where we actually stop watching. So you can see this guy yelled. What he's doing, he's throwing him into a garbage bin, using some choice words in the process of actually doing so. Just continuously grabbing, ransacking the store for all of its cigarettes and everything that it's about. So then you can see eventually, as he's emptying the shelf, this guy goes and walks that way. This is where we stop actually watching, because he grabs a broomstick. Somebody else goes and grabs him, causing the guy with the broomstick to sit there and beat the crap out of him with it, stopping him from actually leaving the store with the goods. Now, there's a person on the other side of the counter that's screaming at him, don't do it, leave him alone. Allow him to actually go ahead and steal everything that's in your store. It's okay. Just people are ridiculous. The guy that was actually beating him with the stick is actually looking at potential charges for beating him with a stick, as opposed to just allowing him to actually get away with it. Really? Everybody's just leaving for the night? They're like, we've had enough, Koolfrogg. Arizona woman accused of pouring bleach into coffee of Air Force husband over months. An Arizona woman is accused of having bleach and poisoned the coffee of her estranged husband, a member of the Air Force, over several months, according to court documents. Melody Johnson was arrested July 18th after her husband submitted video to police allegedly showing her pouring the toxic substance into a coffee machine, authorities say. The man, who was not named by court documents, started noticing that his coffee tasted badly at the end of March while he was stationed in Germany. Johnson and her husband were going through a divorce but lived together with their child. The man continued to drink the coffee for 2 or 3 weeks before he used chemical testing strips to test the water from his faucet, which came back normal. According to court documents, when he tested the water in his coffee pot, it showed high levels of chlorine. In May, the man set up a camera in the home which showed Johnson pouring something into the coffee pot, according to complaint, which is said pretended to drink the coffee until the family came back to the U.S. on June 28th because he didn't want to file the report in Germany. While he was temporarily stationed in a hotel in Davis-Menthan Air Force Base in Tucson, Johnson's husband set up another camera, which again showed Johnson walk to his coffee maker and pour something into his water reservoir. On July 5th, court documents alleged the man filed the police report the next day, but officers told him it wasn't clear what Johnson was pouring into his coffee pot. When the family moved to the permanent houses on July 7, the man set up more cameras and looked like fire alarms in the ceiling. According to the court documents, one was placed in the laundry room where the bleach was kept. Another was placed right over the coffee machine, and a third was placed to show walking between the two areas, the document said. Set it up? Yeah. Set him up trying to actually remove him from the face of the planet with the likeness of bleach in his coffee. I feel bad for the guy, and hopefully she goes away for quite some time for her ignorance in the situation. Florida man arrested for fatally beating an 87-year-old man with a golf course after falsely believing victims hit his car. A Florida suspect was recently arrested for manslaughter after allegedly beating up a man on a golf course. Robert Edward Moore Jr., 76, was charged with 1 count of aggravated manslaughter in an elderly person. The victim, 87-year-old Dean William Zook, died weeks after confirmation due to the injuries he incurred. According to the arrest affidavit, the incident began at Glenview County Country Club, probably, in the villages of June 28th. The victim accidentally hit the car that Moore believed was his, prompting the confrontation. At the time, an unknown white male subject approaches the scene in minor accident and exclaimed, "What the hell, you hit my car?" The victim admitted to hitting the vehicle with his vehicle and asked to exchange insurance information. The unknown subject then struck the 87-year-old victim in the jaw with a closed fist. Zook attempted to protect himself with his hands, but he was unable to. Moore left after realizing that the car did not belong to him. During an interview with the deputy, Zook began to slur and became unsteady. He was transported to a local hospital where doctors discovered that his brain was bleeding. Zook passed away on July 16th, the day before his 88th birthday. Authorities were unable to arrest Moore after they discovered the article about him scoring a hole-in-one in November 2022. He was wearing the same shorts, shoes, sunglasses that during the incident. Moore reportedly told deputies that he thought Zook was trying to flee the scene of the accident. He also said that he was unaware of the victim's age. The defendant also admitted to knowing the victim was older and appeared to be frail, but stated that he did not think he was 87 years of age. Moore was arrested without incident and transported to Sumter County Detention Center. Was held on $30,000 bond. Sumter County Sheriff's Office is actively investigating the incident. There is no additional details at this time. Disturbing that this guy could actually just take himself to the point of actually beating anybody to the point of actually have a brain bleed, where actually it took their life. What a jackass. How rude can you be? How can I chill when you bring a suitcase, you guys are so funny. Right. It does not matter what the age is. Exactly. Anybody that's going to go to that point of doing it should actually be charged accordingly. 74-year-old ex-teacher faces 600 years in prison for what she did to a brave young man in a school basement. An elderly teacher in Wisconsin. I tell you, Wisconsin's one of the worst. Is facing some serious prison time after being convicted of a very sickening crime. On Tuesday, the Wisconsin State Journal reported 74-year-old Ann Nelson Koch, a former teacher in the city of Toma, was convicted of repeatedly assaulting a 14-year-old student during 2016-2017 school year. Nelson Koch repeatedly assaulted the student in the basement of the private school in Toma. At that time, she was 67 and the student was 14. Nelson Koch was convicted of all 25 charges after 3 days trial and faced a sentence in up to 600 years in prison. Assistant District Attorney Sarah Skiles, the prosecutor of the case, said the victim of these crimes is an incredibly brave young man. He spoke the truth, and the jury heard him loud and clear. We are grateful that the jury is dedicated to finding the truth. Skiles asked Judge Radcliffe, who was presiding over the case, to revoke Nelson Cook's bail and remand him to remand her in custody, but Radcliffe released her in the GPS monitor pending the sentencing of October 27th. It is hard to overstate just how disturbing and sickening this case is. Here you're a student being harmed by a person to whom the parents have put their trust in to ensure that their child is safe. Just that exactly. The whole reason why homeschooling needs to be a thing, not just because of the CRT, not just because of the teaching of things, but the disgusting, disturbing things that people do to your children that you trust oh so much. While we can feel satisfaction knowing that it was caught and justice is served, this story nevertheless reminds us of just why trust in educators in America is drastically plummeted over the last few years. First off, the story points out the much wider problem, abuse, that was taking place in American schools. Gross. Disturbing. 600 years, I hope she gets put underneath the goddamn jail and she never gets to see another day of light again. Though the judge had actually released her until sentencing, I hope to God that she goes away for a hell of a lot longer than the 600 years. Put her under the cell. What is going on? See, y'all are... Share the screen. Damn it. Didn't realize I wasn't sharing the screen. Thank you, beautiful. Thanks a lot, Frog. It's back to school days tomorrow out here. Yep. Yeah, you're welcome. You're welcome. Make sure that you trust those people that you actually are releasing your children to. Literally staying inside an oven. Couple married for over 50 years found dead after air conditioning fails. Amid a devastating heat wave, elderly Texas couple and their pet dog were found dead inside their home June 16th after spending days without air conditioner. According to the daughter, Roxana floods from Ramona and Manuel Eisen's mobile home in Baytown initially experienced a malfunction in the air conditioning system on June 12th. They were literally staying inside an oven. However, the couple was reportedly financially unable to get the unit repaired and apparently opted to keep this matter to themselves while they worked to secure a loan. One of their neighbors, Eddie Phillips, reportedly offered to host Ramona and Manuel in his home while they sorted things out, per the outlet. Floods claimed her parents never had to spend the day apart and may have been hesitant to leave their home due to the father's mobility issues. Their granddaughter, Alexandra Caesar, believes that they declined Phillips' offer to host because they felt that they may have been burdened. Very sad to actually believe that these people actually succumbed to such a thing of not actually having an air conditioner and died from the extreme heat and were, as it says, potentially boiled in their oven. It's kind of gross. Punks try victimizing 75-year-old woman, instantly discover they picked the wrong one. Two punks might have thought that they were an easy time victim of elderly target when they ran into a problem and she pulled a revolver and fired. The 75-year-old woman in Oakland, California, came in early hours of July 26 when two armed men forced their way inside. Things quickly went south on the two criminals as she aimed towards the suspects and let a round fly, sending the punks running for their lives. They fired back at least 17 times, but their aim was about as good as their choice of victims, and they missed with every shot. They did, however, get away with some valuables, including jewelry. Although the shots left the woman's home riddled with bullets, there have been no reports of injuries from the incident. In high crime areas such as Californian cities, however, it's clear residents consider people like this woman to be heroes. The woman's daughter hailed the 75-year-old's actions, saying it was unbelievable that she stood in defiance of armed intruders who had her outnumbered. It's quite something to actually see and read. You're like, get him, Granny. Pull out that shot. Pull that shot. Go ahead, do it. Get rid of them. Shocking video: gun strapping kids roam Grand Theft Auto style around St. Louis suburb. So you can kind of there's some videos of these hoodlums actually running around doing their thing, running around with guns, pointing guns at homes, at cameras, and wielding them at risk for everybody else's life. And is something that maybe should actually be curtailed at some point in time if you could. But this is a disturbing pattern of out-of-control kids is being observed in several U.S. cities. This might result in progressive leaders in city halls. It's actually saying St. Louis County, Missouri, not East St. Louis, which is not in Missouri. That's actually in Illinois. The latest example of chaos comes from inner ring suburb of the city of St. Louis. Local television station released a shocking video of kids pointing guns at smart door camera at the home in 700 block of Vernon. The 5 kids were strapped with pistols and semi-automatic rifles. They were seen knocking on doors. Open the door. I'm glad that nobody really opened the door and didn't actually have to deal with these kids. Police said that they received video of anonymous sources. Open investigation into the kids are and why they were at the home with guns. Last month, a gun-wielding 16-year-old was responsible for a deadly downtown St. Louis mass shooting in June that left 1 person dead and a dozen injured. It's like, what the... We should put more gun laws out there because it's going to prevent these kids from getting the guns that they want. Criminals will get what criminals want. You can't stop criminals from doing whatever it is that they're going to do. After a surprise search warrant, police announced 2 arrests in alleged murder of missing 19-year-old. More than 7 years after she went missing, police solved the young woman's disappearance. Morgan Bauer, 19, was last seen alive late February 2016, mere days after she moved from South Dakota to Atlanta, Georgia, for a new life. Now Jonathan Alexander Warren is charged with murdering her, and Caitlin Gobble is accused of covering up the crime. Investigators are still actively investigating the case and continue to develop. Investigators are in constant communication with the district attorney in his office. This follows more than a week of authorities executed a search warrant on the property of Porterdale, according to WXIA. It raised eyebrows as the police of Peoria, Illinois, took part in the search warrant. Officers did not explain why they executed the search warrant and why the Illinois counterparties were there. But police now say Gobble was arrested in Peoria. She faces a count each of concealing a death and felony tampering with evidence. Warren, who is charged with Bauer's killer, was arrested in Los Angeles, California. He faces murder, aggravated assault, concealing a death, and misdemeanor tampering with evidence. I'm so glad that they actually got to the point of actually finding this particular woman's killers and abandoners when they actually did such a thing to destroy a young woman's life as she's actually just trying to find something better. To succumb to such an ignorant people is disgusting and very disturbing. 6 wives, 4 are dead. Black widower Thomas Randolph faces retrial for 6th wife murder. his sixth wife's murder is being retried. Thomas Randolph, dubbed the Black Widower, is scheduled to head back to Nevada courtroom this week as a murder retrial. He's accused of murdering his sixth wife, Sharon Cause, and the hitman was allegedly hired to kill her, Michael Miller, in 2008. Randolph was sentenced to brutal killings in 2017, but after his conviction was overturned in 2021 due to a court using prior bad act evidence, he is granted a new trial. The Black Widower is scheduled for a motion hearing Monday. Before retrial starts, jury selection is expected Tuesday, and opening statements will likely begin Wednesday. This might be something that, one of these law tubers or something might actually pick up and actually start reading through. If you actually are going through whatever, you might just be surprised that somebody wouldn't do such a thing. Very disturbing in itself and kind of gross to believe that this guy has been recharged with his sixth wife's murder. What happened to the other 3 deaths? Kind of makes you wonder. Cops probe if case of naked man stuffing barrel along Malibu beach is tied to a 2020 murder of a rapper Pop Smoke. So we covered this particular case within the last few days or a week or so. And it was something that was one of the more disturbing to actually hear about, because he was actually stuffed into a 55-gallon drum barrel, butt naked. This is Los Angeles authorities investigate a potential connection between the 2020 murder of a Brooklyn rapper Pop Smoke and naked body that was found stuffed in a barrel floating off the Malibu beach this last week. Family members identified the remains stuffed inside the barrel as those of singer-songwriter Javonta Murphy, 32, who is the brother of Joaquin Murphy, one of the 5 people arrested in the wake of Pop Smoke's murder. I get maybe it's Joaquin. Joaquin was originally been charged with attempted murder of the rapper, but was later cleared of the wrongdoing. He is, however, awaiting trial for unrelated charges in Los Angeles County. Los Angeles Sheriff's Department is now looking at the possibility that Javonta was killed in retaliation with Pop murder. The star, whose real name was Bashar Baraka Jackson, 20, was killed in suspected home invasion in Hollywood Hills. Home he had rented by a group of masked men in the round of 4:30 a.m. on February 2020. That July, 2 men and 2 teenagers were charged with the killing. All 4 defendants and members were the same street gang and are said to have learned of Pop Smoke's whereabouts from the Instagram account. They were able to see the address on the rapper's Airbnb, and the gift bag labeled, and saw that they had a stack of cash with them. A friend of someone's staying in the house was called 911 to report the intruders. The rapper's body was discovered shortly afterward and subsequently declared dead after being taken to a hospital. Just a little stack of money, The whole reason why people actually do stupid things, it just so happens to usually be over stacks of money. Over and over again. How disgusting, how disturbing. Again, I'm sure this case will actually have a lot more to it as we actually move through it. We'll see more and more of that particular case as time progresses. One last thing before we go away for the night. Elon Musk pledges to foot legal bills of users mistreated by employers for posting or liking content. Fun. Elon Musk, the social media company X, will pay the legal bills of users who have been mistreated by their employers for posting or engaging with content on the platform formerly known as Twitter. On August 5th, post of X announcing the move, Mr. Musk pledged to support potential lawsuits regardless of the scale. If you're unfairly treated by the employer due to the posting of liking something in this platform, we will find your legal bill, no limit. Please let us know, the billionaire owner of X wrote. Mr. Musk later added that he would also put up a public relations campaign against companies that punish employees for social media activities. And we won't just sue. It will be extremely loud, and we will go after the boards of directors of the companies too, he wrote in response to comments saying that the United States nothing changes behavior faster than the threat of legal action. While Mr. Musk gave further no details on how users can claim money for their legal fees, some users are quick to put their hands up and show him whom they believe deserves legal funding. Among those identified victims of employer mistreatment by Carol Lynn, a former employee of a video game company, Limited Run Games. She was fired earlier this year after transgender activists accused her of being a transphobe who followed reportedly right-wing transphobic accounts. Calling for Miss Lynn's firing, the activist also dug up the post of 2016, 4 years before it started working at Run Games, which said, if you think that the number of trans crying about using the bathroom is higher than the pervs using the excuse, you are, what is wrong with this world? And when you actually think about it, just recently, a guy actually went ahead and liked a meme. We just went through this not so long ago, and he actually lost his job as a race car driver. So, maybe there's another one that we can actually add to the list if he's not already added to the list. There's multiple different people that could actually benefit from this particular instance. If you felt that you were improperly removed from a job for doing something on Twitter, you might have grounds to actually go and get your complaint paid for by Elon Musk and Twitter. I'm sorry, X. Very interesting to actually believe that would actually be a thing that would actually come through. Very fun at the same time. I'll give you all like another moment or two to ask any questions if you have any or statements, and I'll see if I can't actually talk to you about it as I actually close out here tonight. If you haven't done so as well, hit that like button. Share this to the place that you'd like to share things. If you haven't done so already, I do appreciate you all so much for everything that you do for me. Don't forget tomorrow, early, 6 o'clock Mountain Standard Time, 8 o'clock out on the East Coast, I will be with Good Logic here on this channel for a members only stream. Don't forget to actually join and become a member to actually be able to watch that particular stream. I do appreciate y'all so very much. I like the birdie. Can't get used to the X. They're actually calling it X, formerly known as. It's really kind of disturbing in itself to actually believe that. Member for 2 months, going live after this is over. Okay, sounds good. We'll actually come and say hi to Mr. Malloy after we leave here. Don't forget, tomorrow I'm going live right after this is over. Yes. Malloy has a tendency to do so, and then he usually goes until Clumsy starts, and we usually all end up over there. Frog, how was your day? That's my question. It was actually a wonderful day. It was a nice, relaxing Sunday. I made myself a nice big pot of chili. I think I might actually go and eat another bowl because I'm kind of hungry at this point in time. I do appreciate you all so much. Again, don't forget to go check out Mr. Malloy. He will be up next. We usually go to Clumsy Clairvoyant shortly thereafter. Appreciate you all so much.
I don't want to live on this planet anymore.
Later, everyone.